Hello and welcome to episode 70 of White Heat, presented by Godzilla Media, sponsored by our friends over at Johnstone Supply and Mohawk Honda. And also don't forget that we are also sponsored this month by our friends over at the Hideaway at Saratoga Lake Golf Course, the home of Godzilla Media football Sundays, Sunday mornings to be more specific. I'm
Football.
Brian Cady. Foosball. Foosball's the devil. I'm Brian Cady. That's JJ Alexander as he adjusts his kind of crooked glasses. Not so much anymore. There you go. Mr.
It's not the
Alexander.
glasses that are crooked, it's my head.
In more ways than one. How you doing, Mr. Alexander? How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Well, as if your head isn't crooked enough, about to get more crooked after we go through the first hour or so of this episode. A lot of stuff to sort through before we get to the actual good stuff that happened in WWE. So I hope you have your head on straight, because I'm not sure you even know about everything we're going to cover. Goodness me. Let's start across the Pacific Pond, or the other Atlantic.
The other Atlantic.
New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mentioned how they had a big event happening, which was this Monday morning for us. Was Monday evening over in Japan, called Declaration of Power. As far as important matches are concerned, it was really just a lot of tags and 6-man tags and 8-man tags. The most notable thing that came out of all those tag matches that were in like the first half of the card, LIJ, Los Ingobernables de Japón, they had an 8-man tag against United Empire, Akira, TJP, Hanare, and Ospreay. Bushi got the pinfall win. After the match, where things were interesting, though, because a mysterious hooded figure came out to fend off United Empire from beating down LIJ. And now Los Ingobernables de Japón have a new member. Revealed himself as Teton from CMLL. So he officially arrived in New Japan. He cut a short promo. And then he posed afterwards with LIJ. So obviously, he is now a member of the group. Any particular thoughts about Teton coming over to New Japan and joining part of them?
I mean, we'll see where it leads. Like, kind of too early to tell on if he's going to make any splash whatsoever, as it is.
After the fact, there were 4 singles matches to close out the night. Master Wato beat Taiji Ishimori in a non-title match, and then there was a lot of hullabaloo and just a lot of crazy nonsense after that match, with guys coming out, and it was just a fucking mess. I can't even break it down, to be honest with you. The only match I don't have any result from, because I can't get any definitive. I looked over Twitter. I looked all over New Japan's website. I have no goddamn clue. Is the KOPW match that was going on between Takagi and El Phantasmo?
Oh, the gimmick title match.
Like, on one hand, I'm seeing El Phantasmo with a binky in his mouth, and on the other hand, I see him holding like a small, replica version of the KOPW trophy. So I don't have a damn clue if he won or lost. I don't know. So I'm gonna wait before I even say what happened there. And then the final matches of the night: Okada defeats Jonah, and then Jay White ended up retaining against Tama Tonga. Then Okada came out to end the night, confronted Jay White, and officially made the match for Wrestle Kingdom for the heavyweight title. Jay White will defend against Okada. But 2 other things happened before the show even started. Number 1, obviously it was the first notable big show New Japan had of any relevancy since the passing of Antonio Inoki. So they did a remembrance of him, tolled the bell, all that jazz. And then went on to announce that Wrestle Kingdom in January will be considered a tribute show to Inoki.
And are they're still keeping it 2 nights for this one, but after this they're going back to 1 night, they said?
I did not catch that. I can double check real quick to see.
I'm pretty sure that was one of the other announcements they made.
Okay. Let me see here. Here we go. So I'm opening the thing. Farewell special video of his career with highlights. Then they did a whole reading there.
I'm not sure if they made the announcement there or if they just made it in general.
So they also announced that on September 1st, before Inoki had gotten really bad in his health, he accepted the position of honorary lifetime chairman of New Japan, which was announced that they had planned on making tonight. It was just awkward that it just happened to do that.
Oh no, Wrestle Kingdom 17 is going to be only one night.
Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't make any kind of a special announcement as far as it being only one night going forward, but there you go. Then, oh God, if you're on the YouTube side of the podcast, you already see the banner below. New Japan is opening. Not opening. Excuse me. They are going to be offering another championship belt within their ranks. So, let's just run through this quick. You have the heavyweight title.
Yep.
You have this fake kind of sort of title with the KOPW thing.
Right.
You have the US title.
Yep.
You have the junior heavyweight title.
Yep.
You have heavyweight and junior heavyweight tag titles.
Yep.
You have
the open weight title.
Right. You've embraced the open weight title and the open weight 6-man titles.
Mm-hmm. Strong has.
Well, we're not counting Strong. We're just counting specifically the Japan-based title.
Okay. All right.
Apparently, they're in the works with making a woman's title, from what I understand, based on all the conjecture that I've been hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they have reached. They're starting what they call a new initiative to celebrate New Japan's partnership with TV Asahi and New Japan World. A new belt and championship to mark 50 years of being partners in 2023, with the first holder of the title being crowned at Wrestle Kingdom in January. They're going to create the New Japan Television Championship.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to see if I can download this picture quick, because I am not a huge fan of the way this looks.
Oh, do they already fucking have a belt for it?
Yes. It's not so much the front, it's more the side plate, which will take a moment for you to notice. Let me see if I can upload it right now. Let me get rid of this thing quick. There it is. All right. So if you're on the YouTube side, you're going to see this. I'll try to explain it best I can for the audio only. So it's a square. It's a rectangle shaped front.
It looks very old school.
Yes, it looks very old school. And then the normal smaller rectangular strap going around. Mm-hmm. So the rectangular plate in the front has essentially the New Japan World logo mainly front and center.
Yeah.
Right above it, it says it has the New Japan website, NJPWworld.com, and then on the bottom just says the word champion. Now, the picture is angled so you can only see the side plate directly to. So if you're looking at it, it would be to your right for the champion, be to their left. So that side plate is basically an LED computer screen with the YouTube arrow on the left and the New Japan logo on the right of the screen. Hence why I'm not a big fan of the belt. Yeah, that's the direction we're going.
That is some indie-rific shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm assuming you're not a fan of it either. So here's
all I can think of is Zack Ryder's Internet Championship.
Yeah,
like the original one that was just a toy belt that he put like the Facebook and YouTube logos on the side belt on the side plates.
So here's how it's gonna go down.
Oh, that's bad.
there's going to be a tournament held that starts later this week during the Battle Autumn series of events they're going to have through the next month or so. So October 14th. The first round will continue on the 15th and 16th and the 26th. Second round matches will be held on the 27th and 30th of October. Semi-final matches will be in Osaka, Japan on November the 5th. And then the final to crown the first champion will take place at Wrestle Kingdom 17. Every title match will be contested with a 15-minute time limit. So very much in the ilk of like
A TV title.
The TV title in WCW is what I think of. Like, it always makes me think of William Regal, Ricky Steamboat.
Mm-hmm.
I think British Bulldog was around that time and era of like the 15-minute time limit.
Yeah.
Steve Austin for Stunning Steve.
Yeah.
So
because that was back like for people who are a lot younger, they don't seem to remember. Both WWF and WCW at the time, when you would hear them say, this contest is scheduled for one fall was usually a 10-minute time limit. So the TV title was granted an extra 5 minutes of TV time.
Right. So that's the new title. Yay.
I mean, so I understand them wanting to introduce something else because ever since the Intercontinental title got absorbed into the Heavyweight Championship a couple of years ago. But I don't know.
I'm okay with the concept. It's just like certain parts of the belt itself look hokey. That's all.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like they could have easily elevated the never open weight title to that status and used that as the TV-ish title.
True. You could have done without creating a brand new. Not that's really there's anything that's going to really separate the division from any other divisions, but you could, yeah.
Right. I mean, granted, 15-minute time limit does help because, like, anytime, like, that's the one problem that you have with, like, because, like, New Japan is on Access on Thursday nights after Impact.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is they're like, okay, we're going to showcase these matches, and there's literally always only, like, one match for the entire hour because the match is, like, 45 fucking minutes long. So at least in that aspect, a 15-minute, like, time limit helps.
True. That's because they're always picking the matches with the biggest names, which obviously you should if you're trying to promote the Japanese product in a way.
Right, but I mean, it's like that. I used to watch that show because it was like, oh, here's actual stuff happening that wasn't just yanked from this pay-per-view that, that happened 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not keeping people updated to your product in that case. And it's just like, listen, I like Okada. I don't want to see Okada and Tanahashi go fucking 45 minutes again on TV.
Right. I understand. I hear you. All right. So now we move back to the U.S. Oh, my God.
Yeah, glad I didn't go. Also because I would have been screwed on seating.
Well, okay. All right. So there's more reason than just the seating that you're saying that for. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just see where you're saying that for. But we'll get to it. So Bound for Glory was in my backyard of Albany, New York on Friday night. And then they did TV taping Saturday, which there's something very interesting that I need to bring up. I don't know anything about the TV tapings from Saturday night, but I do know a piece of news that will make seeing what happens from those TV tapings very interesting.
Okay.
We'll get to that when we get there. For starters, they had the pre-show, which started with the open challenge for the digital media title. Brian Myers defending against...
Yeah, that's right. Mr. I'm retiring.
Yeah. Dirty Dango was the mystery opponent. Ends up doing the job for Brian, but in the end, he was there. And he does show up later on in the Call Your Shot match, but that's later on.
I feel like he only did this. He came in for a per diem for that shit because he's local.
How local is he?
He's in New York.
Oh, okay.
Why do you think fucking Immortal put their damn title on him?
Oh, I didn't know he was that local.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really didn't know. But anyways, so then after that, the only other thing that was in the pre-show was Raven being inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame.
That was on the damn pre-show?
Yep. So they did the induction. Raven gave a speech, and then DDT Tommy Dreamer one more time. I'm not kidding. I'm being serious. That's what he did.
Of course he did. Of course.
So then we get to the actual show. We open up, and Kazarian, Frankie taps out Mike Bailey to become the new X Division champion.
Well, didn't Bailey pass out? He didn't tap out?
No, he tapped.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah. I remember seeing.
I thought I read that he had passed out, so I was I
remember seeing the clip. He actually tapped.
Ugh. Why? Why?
He tapped out to the chicken wing, and that's that.
Why?
I don't know. I think
why the fuck does a guy who's actually got some momentum, who's young and upcoming, has to do the job to a guy who? Oh my god. What is Kazarian, like 50-something now?
I think you're being dramatic. As far as the age is concerned. Frankie is 45.
Okay. Still, like, Kazarian was vying for the X Division title when TNA was still a weekly pay-per-view.
Right.
Like, there's no need. There's no need.
Well, makes him a 5-time champion. That's
yay.
After that, Mickie James did a backstage interview. Then she went out and defeated Mia Yim. So Mickie James still has a job. Good for her, I guess.
And Mia Yim's wrapped up with Impact.
Oh, right. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I mean, so that was kind of a foregone conclusion because it was the whole Mickie James has to retire if she loses a match and yada yada. And like, you really can't have someone who everyone knows is on their way out win because you can't build off of that afterwards.
Right. And next match was the Knockouts tag title match, and we have new champions.
Yep.
The team called themselves Death Dolls. Taya Valkyrie and Jessica beat Deanna and Chelsea Green to become the new champs. So that's 2 new champions within 3 matches. The first 3 matches of the main show.
Yep.
Then we get to the Impact tag titles with Taven and Bennett retaining, despite Bennett super kicking Maria. Taven and Bennett, though, they retain over the Motor City Machine Guns.
Ugh,
now, I'll just stop here and get to the piece of news I know. So there's 4 people done with Impact. 3 of them were in that match. The Champs and Maria are done. Along with Vinny, Marcelia.
So basically everyone from Honor No More except PCO.
And Kenny King and Eddie Edwards.
Well, I mean, Kenny and Eddie were already on Impact contract.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I meant.
True. Yes. Which is why I say it makes the tapings interesting, because since they retain the titles in the pay-per-view, one would assume, unless Scott is just really out of touch with how to handle business, one would assume they drop the belts at some point during the tapings.
Unless they're working on a per diem deal right now.
Yeah,
I mean, Anderson and Gallows were supposed to be done with Impact months ago when they just kept coming in on
like
a
maybe they'll have
deal.
just come in, like maybe they tape something at maybe they did some of the tapings that sets up their last match at like whatever their next pay-per-view is, which is, I don't fucking know anymore. It's Impact.
Slammiversary.
That's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to sound like an idiot. Let me think here. Sin City Showdown.
Oh, they're doing another show in Vegas.
That's their next weekend. And
that's one of those Friday night digital only ones, isn't it?
Well, that's going to be Overdrive next month in Louisville, November 18th. They're doing a digital only event.
So prior to November 18th, they're doing another pay-per-view.
I think since Sin City Showdown, Yeah, they're just 2 nights of TV tapings. It's kind of like what they did in Texas before Victory Road.
Oh, okay. All right.
So the next actual pay-per-view, let's see here. They're doing an IPWF show at WrestleCade. Oh, Jesus.
Boy.
So the next actual pay-per-view event isn't until fucking January.
So we just got digital onlys until then?
Yeah, they're doing Hard to Kill at Center Stage in Atlanta, January 13th. For that, here's the full schedule. I'll just run through it real quick. Cincinnati Showdown is a weekend of TV tapings, October 21st and 22nd, which is a Friday and Saturday.
2 weeks from now, yep.
Then they have Impact Plus only show Overdrive on November 18th in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
The next night they're doing more TV tapings in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're doing that IPWF show at WrestleCade on November 25th, which I think is the Thanksgiving weekend.
Thanksgiving weekend, yes.
Then December 9th and 10th, they're doing more TV tapings called Winter Warfare in Florida.
Uh-huh.
And then they have nothing scheduled till Hard to Kill January 13th.
Right, because what they'll do is they'll do the 2 weeks of TV tapings to carry through, and then the end of the year they always
Christmas
do like
yeah.
they do a couple of weeks of like highlight shows for the end of the year.
Correct.
Right.
So yeah, they don't even have a pay-per-view schedule for another 3 months now. It's
I mean,
digital-only stuff. I mean, they might drop the belts on on the digital only show in Louisville maybe next month, but other than that, I don't see. Unless you're gonna have them drop them during a TV taping.
We shall see.
Like, are you really gonna have Taven and Bennett hold on for 3 more months when they don't have an official contract for you?
I mean, we all know about some people who are holding titles without official contracts right now, don't we?
Well, let's get to the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. This is where I have a problem.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is where you have a problem too. So I want to make sure I got this straight. You've been this is my first problem. You've been promoting Joe Hendry's debut for weeks. And you decide to not only stick him into a 20-person match. That's a hot mess to begin with. But you put him in there as number 2 with Eric Young, which is fun. I'm cool with being with Eric Young, but like the whole point of him being number 2 to start the match, unless you're gonna have him win the match, I don't get the point of how you're gonna highlight Joe Hendry as a legitimate talent by doing him like this, if that makes any sense.
Because it's going to be a slow burn. He's the underdog. You have to believe in Joe Hendry.
Are you being sarcastic or are you being serious?
I'm thinking that's what they're gonna that's the mindset of the booking for him.
Well, Christ almighty. So they go through and have all these other people enter. They have, let me see here, Hendry, Young, Steve Macklin comes out, Rich Swann, I'm trying to read this in order, PCO, Savannah Evans, that's 6, Johnny Swinger, Tasha Steeles, Killer Kelly, Moose was 10th, it looks like, Callahan, Taylor Wilde, Giselle Shaw. I think that brings me to 14. Diener. Oh, I guess Diener was in there at some point. I missed that.
Okay.
Whoops.
Probably some point earlier with Eric Young.
Then around the 16 or 17 mark, Bully Ray comes out.
Ugh.
Followed by Dreamer, Rhino, Bhupinder Guhar, and who was Cardona was the last entrant.
Ugh.
That's 20. If I missed one person, sorry. Oh, Bobby Fish. That's the person I missed. He was 19. Bobby was 19. Cardona was 20. The final 4 were Macklin, who was number 3, Swan, who was number 4, if my math was correct, and then Bully Ray and Fish. Macklin tossed out Swan, and then tossed out Bobby to leave the final 2 to him and Bully Ray. Macklin hits an Olympic. Apparently, he's using the Olympic Slam now. Sure, whatever. Macklin gets a 2 count though. Then Bully Ray hits the Bully Bomb and wins the match to win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet.
Ugh.
Now, I have an important question here.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
That was mine question too.
And this is like let's just cut through the bullshit. Obviously, Dream and Rhino were never winning.
Right.
No offense. Love the fact that they involved knockout girls from the knockouts division. None of the knockouts were winning. So that means you had opportunity to let the following guys potentially shine with this. Eric Young, Joe Hendry. I hate to say it, but I'll just put it out there. Cardona, Moose, Callahan, Macklin.
Guhar. This could have been a chance to really give that build to that kid because that kid's got something.
Kuhar. Shit, even, and I know you're gonna hate me for saying this, but you just brought him in as a spotlight from your last digital only show. Fucking Bobby Fish, you could have put it on. I was like, okay, I get it. He was your big addition in the last 2 weeks. Like,
even Scott Demore knows Bobby Fish isn't a draw.
But fucking why?
So they can get free airtime on Busted Open.
They already can do that if they want it.
But now Bully can just bring it up whenever he wants. It's not like the scheduled call from Tony Khan every week. It's Bully Ray can hype Impact whenever he wants.
Is that what Tommy's usually there for?
But you got to consider Tommy just came back because Tommy was in the doghouse because of the Dark Side of the Ring thing for the past year.
Okay, that's done and over.
Right, I know, but still, like, Tommy's still damaged goods in some people's eyes. Not but in some people's eyes.
By the way, speaking of that show, fuck how Dave LaGreca got a multi-year contract extension. Fuck you.
Jesus.
Anyways. Then we get Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich. Jordan retains after hitting the Grace driver off the top rope to win the match.
Jordan posted the greatest picture. It was like one of the pictures of like she had like Masha like on her knees and she had like the back of her head and had her face like right almost at her crotch and she just labeled it. She said, "People would pay good money to be in your position, Masha."
Yeah, she's been pretty good at that stuff lately.
Dude, did you? I don't know if you saw like because I follow her on Instagram. The picture she took of her and Gresham together. Because
when they were working out and working on
because Gresham is like all veins now. He is like ultra jacked. Because she was like, one of us lost weight and one of us gained muscle and shit. And like, holy Jesus.
Did you see the side by side of her with a picture of her from like 3 or 4 years ago on the Indies?
Yep.
Good for her. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I always thought she was beautiful, but yeah, she looks fucking amazing.
Then we get to the main event. And Alexander wins. That's what you need to know. Nothing really exciting comes out of this.
Pretty sure it was a great technical spectacle because it's Alexander and Eddie.
It was a great technical match that got ruined by fucking Honor No More trying to constantly interfere towards the end.
Yay.
Yeah, Taven trying to get involved, Kenny trying to get involved.
Putting a hat on a hat, yeah.
Basically. But Alexander retained over Eddie, got the pinfall win. After the match, Honor No More jumped Alexander, Rich Swann and Heath tried to make the save, but then get beat up. Oh, here we go. Bully Ray's music hits, and when it appears he's going to call his shot for the world title opportunity, he ends up helping Josh Alexander take out Honor No More. And then they do the usual like stare down of Bully Ray handing Alexander the title, and that's how they go off the air.
Only because they don't want to do the whole thing of Josh Alexander is the guy that gets fucked on the title every time, like, you know, because Moose did the call your shot and cashed in that night.
Oh, he's going to get fucked anyways, because
right.
Do you really give Bully the fucking call your shot if you're not gonna have him win it?
I mean, there's no reason he should have it, and he
I
shouldn't.
mean, I agree, but
we don't need Bully Ray as fucking Impact champion again.
Listen, I'm not gonna disagree with you. I'm just saying, I smell a lot of stupidity coming out of this.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know. We don't know anything about the tapings. At least I can't find anything. I'm sure if I dug deep enough, I could. But I really don't fucking care because
They'll probably emerge like in the next couple of days.
Yeah, probably. But obviously, we need to keep an eye out to see if anything develops with the tag titles because of the contract situation involving Taven, Bennett, Maria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the main thing to look out for. And then obviously whatever the fuck they decided to do with Bully Ray during the tapings, if he was even there for the fucking tapings the next day,
right?
I don't even know. But if he was there, obviously,
I mean, you're in New York, so
yeah. But I mean, he could have always just like you could have always just had him come in for the pay per view, win the call your shot, and then disappear. Then have people kind of forget about it until an opportune time. Like,
I guess.
But that might be thinking too far outside the box for Scott. I don't know. Real quick before we get into the trash, the flaming trash dumpster fire that is AEW. Just remind you about our friends over at Johnstone Supply in Troy, because I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm not a big fan of sleeping with socks on, and I don't know why. Just how I am. And let me tell you that now I'm starting to reconsider that because my feetsies are getting a little cold when I wake up in the morning.
I don't have that problem.
We're getting. Fuck you. My feetsies are getting a little cold when I wake up in the morning, so it's making me reconsider wearing socks. And JJ, well, he has no soul, so he can't feel anything.
The other one's been wrapped in gauze for the majority of the last few years, so I kind of already have permanent sock on.
The gauze and the metal is getting cold. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, the metal does get cold.
So, that being said, that means it's getting that time of year where you got to make sure that your furnace and your heating system is in tip-top shape.
What about your LaFon?
Colder months coming up ahead. Your what?
What about your LaFon?
Shut the fuck up. So that means we got to talk to our friends over at Johnstone Supply in Troy. Ask the team about the great brands that are all in stock and at great prices, like Goodman, Fujitsu, Westinghouse, all of them ready for you to take advantage of. And if you need just more than parts, you need a brand new system as a whole, Johnstone Supply can help you with that too. You can talk to our boy George, good friend of Godzilla Media. You can also talk to Kev, James Bird. Any of them will be able to help you out with tremendous service and the great products over at Johnstone Supply in Troy. Give them a call, 518-272-5922, or visit their location on 2600 6th Avenue in Troy. Don't be left out in the cold this winter and get your furnace in tip-top shape, or if you need to, get a brand new heating system put into place. Give Johnstone Supply in Troy a call, 518-272-5922. Visit them at 2600 6th Avenue in Troy, or visit them online at johnstonesupply.com. Got your notes ready, sir?
He has them.
There's so many fucking things wrong with what's about to go down.
Oh yeah. So I suggest. So I guess we're gonna. I'm assuming we'll start with Dynamite. We'll start with Dynamite and then cover everything else outside of afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to bring up a point that I think. I don't know if you brought it up to me or if I heard somebody else bring it. I'm pretty sure it was you who brought it up to me. So I want to make sure I got this straight. Because this was the anniversary episode of Dynamite.
Yep, the 3-year anniversary. Mm-hmm.
So in 3 years, they went from the biggest arena in the District of Columbia to an arena the quarter the size of it.
Uh-huh.
That's something to sell, right? Yeah. Anyways, we open the show with MJF tapping out Wheeler Yuta because we haven't made Wheeler Yuta look like more of a bitch at all the last few months.
See, I don't. Yeah, that doesn't. I don't mind that so much because you got to figure MJF hasn't had a match on TV since May. I mean, well, that was pay-per-view. But MJF hasn't had a match since May, so you got to make MJF look strong. And
Here's
get
the other
that.
part of it, though. He passed out to Garcia, but he taps out to MJF.
Yeah.
My opinion, if he taps out to anyone, it'd be Garcia, not MJF.
But he had to pass out to Garcia so that way, because in this is so. I'm not giving cadence to this. I'm not giving credence to this. This is the Tony Khan internet mark booking logic. He passed out to Garcia. That made him and Garcia 1-1, and it was for a title. So therefore, you can go back to that if you want, so they can have a rubber match. Meanwhile, MJF is the big bad heel of the company, and he has to look strong. So you need Wheeler Yuta to tap out to him. That's Tony Khan's logic. Is it making sense? No, absolutely not. But what's worse is the aftermath. Why the fuck is Wheeler Yuta asking to shake his hand?
Yeah.
Like, this is, you attacked him and fought him in the stands last week. And now you want to shake his hand because Tony Khan is the worst booker on the fucking planet and is going to flip NJF babyface.
Well, the other shit also gets worse. Because then Lee Moriarty jumps Yuta from behind. Stokely brings out the dynamite ring.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got a guy who shouldn't be taking any physicality whatsoever, threatening to come in with Nux. And William Regal.
Yep.
Because apparently his neck is more jacked up than anything else in the world.
Yep.
Yet he's threatening to come in with Nux. Like, sure. Yeah.
Sure.
So MJF leaves before he even gets to use the diamond ring, and apparently an old guy with a jacked up neck using Nux is enough to make them all leave. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get JAS backstage with Tony. Just I feel like anytime I see Matt Menard on my TV screen with a microphone within 20 feet, I need to just mute the TV from now.
Yep.
Just
yep.
I fucking can't. Then we really had the marks going after this one because Darby pins Jay Lethal.
The crowd was fucking dead. And Jay Lethal at one point, freaking, he landed like Sabu against Benoit. Like he went he went boom, straight down on his fucking head.
But they shook hands after.
For reasons. Like, and they just, because they keep bringing up Ring of Honor all night because, why? Because there was going to be Ring of Honor belts featured on Battle of the Belts because Tony Khan doesn't know how to book and goes, oh, I'll use this as an opportunity to fucking throw some ROH shit out there.
Well, he walked off after the handshake, he being Lethal.
Because we're going to flip Lethal babyface too. Why not?
Because Sanjay and what's his face?
Satnam
Singh, thank you.
Yep.
We're not happy about it, but Jay Lethal basically walked away from them and said, fuck you, which is nice. Then we have the TNT title match. Wardlow retains over Brian Cage because everybody wanted to see Wardlow versus Brian Cage.
I said right before I give this 10 minutes. It went 9 minutes, 58 seconds.
I was going to say, yeah.
And what the fucking Brian Cage is being called the Swolverine? Ugh.
He's got a new nickname every 90 seconds. You know that.
Yeah, he's like Chris Jericho.
Then Gates of Agony attack Wardlow after the match. Samoa Joe and FTR make the save. Obviously setting up a match
for Battle of the Belts.
We saw at Battle of the Belts. Gates of Agony versus FTR for the ROH tag titles. Which
because here's a tag team that isn't even a tag team that has literally had 0 matches in AEW or ROH. All they did was a run-in at the ROH show with Tully Blanchard back in April. They have not had a match, but because they do a run-in, they get a title shot against the Ring of Honor tag
They
teams.
had a match.
They did? When?
It was one of the it was the last show Tully did. Because he introduced Gates of Agony and had them
Okay. So they had one match months ago.
I'm not defending. I'm just saying they didn't. They had a match.
I'm guessing it was on a Rampage or something because I don't recall it.
It was it was the ROH pay-per-view that was Tully's last show. So it wasn't the one Mania weekend. It was the one.
But Tully wasn't at the one after that.
The fuck was the show?
The one in Lowell?
Was it Lowell? It might have been the one in Lowell.
Because Lowell totally wasn't there. Remember, that's when they fucking just threw Prince Nana in there and renamed Tully Blanchard Enterprises into the embassy.
They were with Tully, and then that might.
Yeah. Tully did a run-in with them in April, and then maybe did a promo about them, but they hadn't had a match on TV.
Yeah, it wasn't on TV. It was definitely. I remember it being a pay-per-view match of some sort, so it had to be.
So they might have had it in Lowell, but yeah. So yay, one match.
I'm not defending him, just saying. Then we get a Britt Baker pre-tape backstage where she claims that Saraya has not been cleared by doctors to compete. That's just a great way to shit on her. That's nice. Then why are we buttering up Willow if we're not going to give her the fucking golden ticket?
Because that would involve giving Willow a contract, dude. We've been over this.
No, that's what I mean. That's the golden ticket I'm talking about. Why is Tony butting her up by giving her a pinfall victory on TV followed by a title match? We knew she was going to win, but still a title match. Why are we giving all this to her and yet not giving what she really deserves? Like, what are we doing here?
Okay, back to Tony Khan internet mark booking. He had to give a reason for Willow to be able to face Jade, so he gave her the pin in a meaningless in a 6-person match. He doesn't have anyone else to face Jade that is under contract, but he knows he can give Willow a call and have her come in for $300 a shot and keep dangling a contract over her and never actually give it to her because he's a fucking racist. No one with half a brain thought Willow was going to beat Jade when Willow doesn't have a contract. Right. But they have no one else to feed to Jade because Tony Khan doesn't know how to book.
I'll ask the question I want to ask in a second. Just want to reference, by the way, this is what we're referring to. Willow was teaming with Athena and Tony Storm in a 6-woman tag against Penelope Ford, Jamie Hayter, and Serena Deeb. Willow got the pin on Penelope Ford to win the match. Mm-hmm. And then we had Britt and Saraya facing off in the ring after the match. A brawl breaks out. Saraya does some horrible looking
punches.
Offense to, it looked like complete shit. So the question I have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of ways I gotta ask this question, but I'm gonna ask it the very blunt way.
Mm-hmm.
Why is she still holding out hope by continuing to put herself in these positions?
Because she has a lot of friends in that locker room who vouch for her, and she thinks that that'll eventually get her in. Because she doesn't want to realize she doesn't want to come to grips with the fact that Big Swole was right about Tony Khan. And the thing is, because Willow is a journeywoman and Willow works everywhere she can. She kind of put all her eggs in that basket because she doesn't know because basically like a year ago when WWE was like, we're not going to look at indie people anymore. We're going to build from in-house. That's when Willow really started like going more gung-ho on bookings and everything because she wants to get out there, and more power to her because she's fucking amazing. What needs to happen now is Triple H needs to fucking give that girl a call and fucking sign her right away.
Just, I don't know, man. I feel awful for her.
Yeah, I mean, for a bit she was stuck under contract with MLW, and now she's out of that.
Right.
And that's why she started appearing more on Dynamites, because her MLW contract came up.
Right. Then we get pre-tape backstage with Rush, Jose, Private Party, and Tony. It was Rush basically telling Private Party they better watch his back or some shit. Fucking stupid. I don't know. Then we have the National Scissoring Day celebration with the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass.
Fucking terrible. Waste of time. Tony Khan paid for a 15-minute overrun just so this segment could go way too fucking long.
The celebration gets interrupted by Swerve, who challenges Daddy Ass for a match this coming week. Then Smart Mark, in a weird face move, asks the Acclaim to let him represent them against Swerve because he's still doing this whole Swerve, like anti-Swerve bullshit.
Because Tony Khan doesn't know what to do, so he's trying to harken back to something he was doing a couple of months ago. And the fact is, he doesn't want to fully flip Swerve and fucking Keith Lee fucking heel.
He's painting himself into a corner where he has no choice.
Yeah, well, go. This is what happens when you have a guy who's never booked before booking for a fucking nationally televised product.
Like, he literally has no choice. He has to pull the trigger now.
I know.
Especially with the way fucking Swerve's been acting. You need to pull the trigger.
Right. But see, it is a Swerve has a legitimate gripe because the Acclaim won the titles dirty.
Oh, fuck off.
Tony doesn't know how to book. Plain and simple.
If this is his way of slow burning, I don't want to see it again. I don't like the way he slow burns because his slow burns are shit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, afterwards we have Dark Order and Death Triangle pre-tape about their Rampage title match later in the week,
which we'll cover it a little bit because there's a reason that match all of a sudden happened. Because that's the story everyone's talking about this past weekend.
Then we got Madison Rayne and Sky Blue doing a backstage interview with Tony. They're interrupted by Anna Jay and Ty Conti, which then sets a tag match up for Rampage.
How bad is it that when all four of them on the screen, I went, who the fuck are these people?
You didn't recognize Madison Rayne?
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right. Then we get Hangman beating Rush.
Rush has won one televised match since being signed in singles competition, and that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yep. And then Mox comes out, cuts a promo to Hangman, and yeah, sure, okay. Then Willow's backstage with Tony, challenges Jade for a title match at Battle of the Belts. Then Luchasaurus makes Fuego del Sol look like his bitch.
Because that's what Fuego del Sol is there for. Him and Serpentico are there for squash matches.
60-second squash matches, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jungle Boy attacks with a chair afterwards, cuts a promo, and apparently they're going to wrestle this week? Yeah, this week.
In Canada.
Show, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Fuck off, Christian. Then we get Pac and Beretta pre-tape. They're pre-tape for their All Atlantic. Every Ocean is the Atlantic belt match. Fuck Judas.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fucking Christ. Did you see the way Danielson landed from the Spanish Fly?
Yep.
Brian, we as a wrestling public love you. We don't want to see you turn into
draws.
Yeah. Stop. Please. I'll even go further with this plea. Bree, talk some sense into his head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got what, 2 kids now?
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Please. He's trying to do what he wasn't really able to do in WWE, but he's trying to do it with children who don't know how to do what they could do in WWE.
Yep.
Stop. If he really wants to do that shit bad enough, I'm sure Hunt would be willing to accommodate to a degree in a way that Vince wouldn't allow himself to accommodate. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna do that shit, do it in a safer environment. Go back. Spend 18 months in the E. Then retire.
Mm-hmm.
Stop, please. Anyways, Jericho and Sammy end up winning over Danielson and Garcia, and that's how Dynamite goes off the air.
My final note of that was because at the end there was the mass run-in, and I said, if all the members of the Jericho Society are there, why was Sammy not sent home?
Which, before we get into Rampage, which I'm sure you didn't watch, and then get into Battle of the Belts, which I'm sure you didn't watch either.
Fuck no.
I didn't watch Battle of the Belts because I forgot to DVR it, to be honest. Swear to God, I literally was up at 1 a.m. that night, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I didn't record it. Oh well." But this is what JJ is referring to. Apparently, rumor has it. Apparently, Tony Khan is running a babysitting service in AEW. So we had another backstage scrum for the second time in 5 weeks.
Yeah.
If not, Andrade and Sammy Guevara had a little bit of a throwdown backstage on Wednesday, right? Day of show?
Yep. Well, let's back it up. So the whole reason this all started was because Andrade did a radio interview. And he basically mentioned how Sammy Guevara bitched about him working too stiff. And how he said, John Cena never said I work too stiff. Rey Mysterio never said I work too stiff. You seem to be the only person. Whatever. Sammy Guevara took that personally and decided to be a keyboard warrior and started tweeting bullshit. At the same time, apparently Sean Spears is going through some stuff, and Sammy started tweeting bullshit at Sean Spears too, which people are assuming was him tweeting at Andrade. And thus elevated the shit with Andrade.
Why would you tweet?
Because Sammy Guevara's a fucking child.
Why would Sammy poke the bear of a wrestler who's home on paternity leave with his pregnant wife? What sense does that fucking make? What sense does that fucking make? That's stupid, man.
This is Sammy Guevara.
It's a dude
who's a fucking cancer.
It's a dude who misses being in the ring because, I mean, as much as he loves his wife, he'd probably prefer being on the road 1 or 2 days a week than being at home 24/7.
Right.
Fucking Jesus, man.
Guevara has been a problem for years, but no one seems to want to want to face that head on. Everyone skirts around it. You know, it's like, you know, the whole Sasha Banks thing. Oh, well, he went to sensitivity training. Apparently, sensitivity training didn't do shit for Sammy Guevara.
Sammy is a petulant child in a barely past puberty man-looking body.
Yep.
Like,
exactly.
And what doesn't help is that him and Ty look like 2 teenagers making out at the prom than they do look like adults that are married.
Yep.
Like.
And then apparently Tony Khan had a talk with them, which I guarantee was in a group chat and wasn't actually in person prior to Wednesday, saying, you two need to get along. I don't want no physicality. And he flat out told Andrade, if you take a swing, I'm not going to fire you. Because supposedly Andrade wants to get fired so he can go back to WWE. That remains to be seen. We don't know that. But in the meantime, Tony Khan just gave carte blanche to someone to go around punching people out in the fucking locker room because, hey, I'm not going to get fired.
Nobody ever said TK was smart.
Like, oh, I'm going to sit, like, because Tony Khan came out and said, I'm not releasing anyone from their contracts and how they can sit home. I'm like, yeah, they're going to sit home and collect money. You fucking idiot.
I hate dumb people. I really do. But I think we're in agreement. Sammy he has to go, man. Like,
he does.
There's no 2 ways around this. He has to go.
So it's funny that, that whole 4 pillars of AEW thing, how apparently 2 pillars are a petulant child and a brainless moron, as quoted by CM Punk.
Who's the brainless moron?
Adam Page.
Oh, right. Thank you. Sorry, I had a moment.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, brainless moron who got gifted a world title shot that he didn't deserve. That's nice.
Because his friends are the EVPs.
His friends are suspended and never mind. I'll shut up. Shut up, Brian.
Well, we'll get to it because let's cover this because I wanted to know if you actually paid attention to the interview that Khan did with Ariel Helwani.
Oh Christ, what did he say?
Oh, well, he just talked about who works backstage and blah, blah, blah. And he let out during it that Kenny and the Bucks aren't the only people with office positions as well as talent contracts.
Oh, God.
Punk has an office position, too.
No.
Yep.
No.
He admitted it.
No. Fucking no. You're kidding, right?
Go find the interview. Go find the interview. He admitted it.
Here, actually, I think I've got it bookmarked. Hold on.
I don't want to hear it. 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 I don't want to read it. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to taste it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I need to collect myself. I need a second here. If you're gonna read it, make it quick.
I think there's specific people, even if they're not working in an office job per se, like Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson, and Jon Moxley. And of course, even people who are working in office jobs like Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and CM Punk.
Moving on. Rampage. Mox, Claudio, and Yuta beat Roosh and Private Party in a 6-man tag.
Yay.
Woods and Nice beat Varsity Blondes in like 90 seconds.
Poor Varsity Blonde. And then didn't they say they're taking their name?
The Blondes are taking the tag team version of Serpentico and Fuego del Sol, apparently. Mm-hmm. And Anna Jay and Ty beat Madison Rain and Sky Blue in tag action.
Yay.
And then this is what took the place because originally it was going to be Preston Vance taking on
Andrade
in the Mask versus career match. So instead they just said, fuck it, let's give Dark Order a trios title match.
Yep.
On the anniversary of Brody Lee's last match, because let's beat a dead horse.
And Death Triangle ended up retaining. Shocker. Then Battle of the Belts, in what doesn't make sense.
Pac stayed in the ring just so he'd be there at the beginning of Battle of the Belts to defend against Trent.
Sure. And Pac retained using the bell hammer again.
Yeah.
And then Orange Cassidy attacked Pac after the match. Jade retained the TBS title over Willow. And then, tell me if this makes sense, Nyla Rose stole the TBS title.
They're going to try flipping Jade babyface.
So Nyla Rose is Jean-Pierre Lafitte? Fucking A, man. And then we end the night with FTR retaining their ROH tag titles over Gates of Agony.
Which apparently was a god-awful match, even by people who like, oh my god, 5-star match. Apparently FTR had to carry these fuckers because they were just lost. I mean, I'm not, but still, like, when you make that your main event. And really, and I guarantee the only reason that was the main event instead of was because FTR complained and it got let out on the internet about them not getting televised matches.
Well, not even that. Look at who the other two matches were.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to put as the main event?
I mean, you could have put Pac in the main event just to give him a break in between matches. I mean, Battle of the Belts is just a horrible show overall. Horribly booked, horribly executed. It always is.
Speaking of horribly booked, horribly executed, let's continue on that train. I mentioned this to you over the weekend. Specifically, I think I mentioned it to you. I think it was late Saturday night we discussed this in brief. I feel like there's something that needs to be understood here. Because it's become all too commonplace in recent years. When workers are relieved of their duties or quit WWE/NXT, they become the indie market's hot ticket.
Yep.
Like every indie mark that doesn't know how to do business right seems to be willing to throw not just money, but potentially their company's championships at these guys. Notwithstanding from this potential argument would be GCW.
Which, backing up for half a step, did I not say the same thing for the last 3 weeks?
Yes. So, Jon Moxley was their champion for, let me think here, roughly 6 months, maybe a little more.
Probably, yeah.
I think it was the spring of this year he became champ.
Yeah.
Ish. Mm-hmm. It was right around the time whenever they were running in Hammerstein. Like, they ran in Hammerstein, I think, around June. So I think it was a couple months before that. So, early spring sounds right.
Yeah.
They eventually ended up booking career versus title match.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Gage putting his career, I don't know if it was his general career or just his GCW career.
It was his whole career.
So Gage put his whole career on the line, in air quotes, against Moxley for the GCW title over the weekend, which was booked well in advance.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, we all know what Mox was going through over at AEW with TK and Punk, and then not being champion, being champion, not being champion, tournament of champions, now the champion again.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, TK booked Mox into a corner where he couldn't look good any way possible.
Right.
And now has made a nationally televised world title look like shit.
Yep.
Because his champion just lost in an outlaw fed for their title that he was the holder of against a guy who made your company look like shit during the, what was it? The
Labors of Jericho.
Thank you very much. The Labors of Jericho, by bringing his outlaw indie style into a nationally televised product for one night. Does that all sound right?
Yeah, it's basically what I said. I said they needed to take the AEW title off Moxley before this show happened, because there's no fucking way that you can have your world champion go into this indie show and lose to a guy with the reputation of Nick Gage. I understand Nick Gage has had a redemption story over the past couple of years, and I personally have nothing against Nick Gage on a personal level. However, Nick Gage has a reputation, and Nick Gage is Nick Gage.
And here's the other side of it. And I'll get to the schmaz finish they end up doing in a second. We'll get to that.
Let me just point out that it's not a schmaz if you're already in a no DQ death match.
Well, you get my point that I'm getting to.
I know, but I've had to point that out to several
finish.
people.
They'll call it that.
Yeah,
Bullshit finish.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll get to the bullshit finish in a second.
Right.
But here's the thing. Tony Khan is trying to operate under the auspices that it's still 1999 ECW, and nobody really fucking pays attention to wrestling if it's not on TV. This is 2022. There is social media. There's Twitter. There's Instagram.
Not to mention it was on pay-per-view.
There's Snapchat, there's TikTok, and oh yeah, there's iPay-per-view now, which didn't exist in 1999, which is what GCW was airing on. Independent shows are more accessible than they ever have been in the history of pro wrestling because of iPay-per-view and because of YouTube and all the other social media platforms I just mentioned. Yet you're trying to book as if they don't exist when you can easily find out Mox is defending this indie company's title and losing it eventually.
Especially when you depend on the internet as your niche audience.
Thank you very much. Now, to get to the bullshit finish, it's bad enough he was dropping this indie company belt into Nick Gage. Now compounded with the fact you also had other talent you have under contract go to this show and end up costing your world champion this company's world title for the sake of furthering your programming storyline.
Yep.
What I mean by this, by the way, is that apparently, was it with or without Stokely, by the way?
It was with Stokely. It was okay. Stokely and Morrissey.
Apparently, Stokely and Morrissey showed up, and Morrissey, he chokeslam box through
through a barbed wire pane glass.
Yes, and that's how Gage got the win.
Mm-hmm. Because the 1,001 weapons that they already used in the match couldn't take Mox out.
But Morrissey chokeslamming him is what did the job.
Yes.
Sure.
Yep.
We'll go with that.
And I even said that because I said it before on here, but now I can reiterate it. Tony Khan is officially the dumbest fucking promoter on the planet. And yes, I did tweet that to Jim Cornette because I like to stir the pot. Some people were like, I was talking to like some local indie guys who I'm friends with about it. I was like, this would be akin to if in 2007 ish, John Cena on like his hottest fucking WWE championship run. This would be akin to if John Cena showed up at some random indie show in Jersey and did the job to Crazy Ivan while he was WWE champion.
Now, there's only one other time that I can think of off the top of my head where there was more craziness and stupidity behind a world title issue. And that would be, to put it the way Paul Heyman summed it up, a WWE contracted superstar fighting a WCW contracted superstar with an ECW title.
Yep.
Which, and to further explain it, so Mike Awesome, in the dark of night, Mike Awesome said "fuck you" to ECW, and showed up on WCW television. I believe it was Nitro to be specific, attacking Kevin Nash,
right,
while still the current reigning defending ECW world champion.
Right.
To which Heyman said, "fuck you," and asked a favor of Vince McMahon to bring Taz in.
Yep.
Who was under WWE contract as a wrestler.
Yep.
He wasn't at the commentary table yet. He was still in the ring.
Right.
He brought Taz in on a one-off show. It was like White Plains or somewhere in New York City, I want to say.
And it was a three-way dance. It wasn't a one-on-one match.
Oh, even better. So it was probably Tanaka was probably in the match, I'm guessing?
I think so. I'm not sure. I just remember that Awesome took the first fall and was gone.
Right. So Taz eventually won the belt, and then eventually, like a week or two later on TV, he dropped the belt to Dreamer, who was never supposed to win the belt, but won the belt, and a whole bunch of crazy shit, basically.
And in the meantime, internet marks lost their damn minds because Taz did the job to Triple H on SmackDown while he was technically ECW champion, except for the fact that Triple H was WWE champion at the time.
Right.
And guess what? One title trumps another one. Sorry.
Was he allowed to bring the belt out on TV for that match too?
Yes.
Yeah, it was the most fucking bizarre fucking thing in the world. But the reason I bring that up is that was 2000, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That was 22 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you would have had any fucking knowledge of this is, whoa, why is Taz bringing that belt out on TV?
Right.
You didn't fucking know how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way of knowing because
Right.
that was still VHS days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless you were at the show, you had no fucking clue because the internet, like, wasn't really a big blow up thing.
It was AOL chat rooms.
Right. There wasn't any real forums in 2000. You were basically going off of whatever the fuck douchebag Meltzer gave you, and that was really it. Now you can find shit out within 30 minutes of it happening.
Right.
So it's like, this is what brings me to this. It finally brought me to this conclusion late Saturday night, and I think you're in agreement with this.
Mm-hmm.
I am of the opinion. Now, obviously, WWE, this doesn't matter because you're gonna do whatever they fucking tell you to do before you get on TV with them.
Right.
But if you're AEW, and I'll even go as far as saying, or I'll even add MLW into the mix with this.
Okay.
There should be clauses built into their contracts when a talent signs, or at least a handshake agreement between you and the promoter you are signing with, that you should not be carrying any indie circuit titles while on the TV product for that company.
Which is really funny because that was put into Mox's extension. Mox's extension was he couldn't work for any more indies.
Too little, too late on that one. Fucking idiot.
But they allowed him to work this last show because
no shit, they didn't have a choice. So, which means, because here's how I would basically state the clause. I'll give an example. Let's say, and this is very hypothetical, because it's the only example I can think of right now. Let's say Dirty Dango is meeting with Tony Khan for a contract in AEW. Dirty Dango is currently the world champion of a local indie that works not too far from where I am in upstate New York.
Yep.
What this would require, in my opinion, let's say they're in negotiations, this requires a phone call from Tony or from Dango to the promoter, to Mike, who's the booker for that company, and go, hey, Mike, here's a situation. I know we have a show coming up, because they have a show coming up, I believe it's next weekend. Next Saturday, if I remember correctly. Like, hey, Mike, I know I'm booked on your show for next Saturday. Here's what's going on. Can I drop the belt against the guy I'm facing next Saturday? Because he is booked to defend the title at that show.
Right.
So hypothetically, if this situation arose in the next week, that should be the conversation taking place.
Exactly.
Because there's no, at that point, if you are going on national television and getting the buco bucks I'm assuming Tony is continuing to hand out, you don't fucking need that belt.
Right.
You don't need the promotion. You don't need the publicity from that anymore. You're going to be on fucking national TV.
Right. And that goes back to something that I've been saying since AEW's inception. And that's the fact that it's like, well, Tony Khan is giving them the freedom to still work indie dates. But I had this conversation with actual workers. We're like, well, this is great. Because I'm like, no, it's not. Because the whole point of getting signed to a national company that has television is so you don't have to work indie dates anymore. And if you have to still hustle and get indie bookings to get yourself over because you're not on TV, you might as well not be signed to the televised company. Like there's people like I will give a prime example. Sonny Kiss. I love Sonny Kiss. Sonny Kiss is an amazing fucking talent. And Sonny Kiss is relegated to fucking YouTube. And Sonny Kiss is still taking indie bookings all over the place. So that Sonny can stay relevant. And Sonny should be on regular ass TV. I'm sorry.
That just gave me an idea, but I'll bring that up in a second.
Okay.
But because I want to follow up what you're saying with an addendum. I am in agreement that you shouldn't need to, and you shouldn't in general be taking bookings based on the way you laid out things.
Yeah.
I believe you're allowed an exception. If you know somebody that's in a pinch and you get permission not to win a belt, let's say it's just a general
Do a
match.
fill-in spot. Yeah.
Right. In that case, I'd be okay with it. But it can't be for a title. And if it shouldn't be for a title, but if it is for a title, you're not going to win that match.
Right.
Or if you win, you're going to go over in DQ or count out fashion.
Exactly. And here's something else. So here's where things also differ is, as you know, because Tony Khan allows them to work indies, which is just, it opens up too many cans of worms. On the other side of it, WWE, what happens is if someone gets signed to developmental nowadays, they are allowed to finish out the indie dates that they already have booked. That was not the case years ago. And we were a victim of that because mid 2006, after a really good 2006 or 07, 06, after a fucking awesome build throughout the summer, because it was late 06, an awesome build throughout the summer, we finally had a champion crowned where we had a championship match where Alpha Jr. won our heavyweight title. We had his first title defense booked for 5 weeks out from that. Same venue, because we had a few dates booked in advance. Alpha Jr. got signed. He wasn't allowed to pick up that last day. And he was going to Deep South. It's not like he was showing up on Raw.
Right.
And we had to vacate the belt and start from scratch and be like, sorry, card subject to change.
Yeah, because that was pre-FCW days.
Exactly. This is when people were still going to Deep South.
Mm-hmm. AKA the place that Xavier Woods closed down. You've heard that story, right?
Yes. But yeah, so like that's where it shows a professional company versus an unprofessional company. And I just can't believe that a promoter could be this fucking stupid. Like this guy, and like I said to you, I was just like, Tony Khan just made Caleb Seltzer look like Bill fucking Watts.
Yeah.
Like it's how? Like there's no coming back from this. I don't care what they say. There is no coming back from this. Your world champion, your televised world champion just did the job at an indie show in front of 300 people for whatever title they have. And even there's already people on the internet, because guess what? When you cater to the internet is going to sit there and they go, well, does this mean that Nick Gage is going to show up on AEW in an eliminator match to get a shot at the AEW world title because he beat Moxley for the GCW title? Because that's literally the story they just did with Juice Robinson, is it not?
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you cater to only the internet, you fucking idiot.
Oh man.
I fucking can't, like, it's unfathomable. Like it is ridiculous. There's just no excuse. Like I'm still dumbfounded. The second that shit came up, I'm like, I can't. Like, he had an out too. That's the worst part. He had an out for 2 weeks where he's literally got a guy with a Money in the Bank fucking casino chip who could have done a run in and pinned the dude, won the fucking belt. And so none of this would have happened.
No.
He made his whole company look like shit. And it's like he's purposely doing the wrong things because he thinks he's going to get offered the fucking contract renewal that he got last time from fucking Warner, with like, oh, it doesn't matter because come January we're going to get another $40 million in and we're going to get another 2 years on TV. No, it's not going to happen, Tony. It's not. They'll offer you $10 million for 2 years if you're lucky.
Tony.
New Jack Swing?
Do I want to know any stories you might have about Caleb Seltzer, by the way?
I actually have never met the guy. They kept me away during that whole feud between RWE and the NEFW because they knew that I would fuck a kid up. Because everyone else wanted to play nice. I'll be like, fucking let me at him. I will verbally freaking bash him into the ground.
Do you remember all the parties involved from the story that I told you before?
Yeah.
Because I don't remember if I told the story on air. I told the story on air before.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to see if I can dig it up from the vault. Or should I just retell the story now quick just for the fuck of it?
Go for it.
All right. So, first of all, to set the stage, RWE, called Real Warrior Entertainment, they existed for what, 4 months?
If that.
In the New England indie scene. And so it was a brand new, fresh start company, and they were bringing in a bunch of different dudes that worked all over the Northeast. Included in them were Chris Envy, who was working at NEFW at the time, but also trying to get his own company off the ground at the same time. And I had just started doing stuff as well. Not doing stuff. I was helping Chris get his own company off the ground, but at the same time, I was starting to go to NEFW shows with Chris, building rapport with Eric, the owner of NEFW. Eric wanted me to see if I had a feel for the business and see if I really deserved a shot. So he was having me sit in the bleachers at shows and taking notes, and then we compared notes the week after shows, and that's how Eric and I started getting along. You remember that?
Yeah.
So in the midst of this, Chris is like, "Hey, they're RWE. They are up for the idea of having an invasion angle within the company, featuring a few of us from the company we're forming, which were Chris, Tom, he was a wrestler, but he was mostly a referee by that time.
Mm-hmm.
But he could still go if they wanted him to.
Mm-hmm.
There was one other person with us, I can't remember.
Wasn't Fox Vineyard?
He was booked on those RWE shows, but I don't think he was part of the crew.
Okay, because I knew he usually rode with Envy to the NEFW shows. So.
Yeah, there was one other guy in the actual group itself for the shows. I can't remember, but Fox was riding with us for these shows, but he wasn't part of the group. There was one other guy I can't remember. But anyways, and then me. And the way it was pitched to me was, you ring announced the first half of the show. Chris said his match was against Kenny Roberts, which had another angle worked into the match, which I'll explain that in a second. So basically, it was I ring announced the first half of the first show for RWE. Chris is the last match before intermission with Kenny. Then after the match, I basically do a work shoot, really, because I already knew what the fuck I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
A work shoot promo, basically shitting on the entire product that I just watched, blah, blah, blah. And then I basically I can't remember. I would say his name was Mark. That would have been funny if it was Mark. The guy who was the owner. I think it was Mark.
Yeah, I always forget the guy's last name, but Mark. Yeah.
Basically, I told him to shove it. I quit the ring announcing job, and that's how the stable. And I announced I was going to be a manager, and that's how that formed, basically.
Right.
The funny thing is, during that match of the debut show, there was also an angle being worked between Kenny and he just passed away too. Ian Griffin. Yes, Ian Griffin. Because I don't know how this worked out. So I'm sitting in the corner of the barricade, right near the entranceway.
Mm-hmm.
Ian's right behind me, and apparently at some point he's supposed to throw a fucking water bottle at Kenny, and I'm like, Ian, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, shut up. I'm like, oh okay. Faces forward. And that's probably how the match was ending. He was going to throw a water ball at Kenny, and that got Chris disqualified, all kinds of stupid shit, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, now fast forward to the next month, which by then they had also done a warehouse training show I guess that's where their dojo was. So, and I remember specifically the one match was
It's cream soda.
Christian Frost, if I remember correctly, was his first name.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Fury were going 1-on-1 in that warehouse show.
Oh, poor Brian Fury.
So after that was another actual building show back in what's the
Nomads.
Thank you. Yes, this is what I was going to ask you. Which is like an indoor amusement park kind of thingy.
It's like a Chuck E. Cheese without the pizza.
Yeah, but they had this big ass basketball court area.
They had a gymnasium that was either a basketball court or volleyball or anything else that they wanted it to be. Yeah.
So that's what they were booking out was that part of the facility, and the originally booked match was Envy 1-on-1 against Just Incredible. Then they were still publicizing that match, but in the days leading up to the show, it was starting to sound like the match was going to get changed because of something involving Justin or whatever. And we're like, all right, well, whatever. We'll figure it out. So originally we show up 5 hours before the show, and it's going to be a handicap match. It's going to be Chris and I don't remember who, somebody else against Justin. We're like, that sounds fucking stupid, but okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then they wanted to change it to a handicap match where it was 3-on-2, and Justin's part of the team of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, and Caleb was basically like, make it work. We're like, you motherfucker. So that's basically what we were left with was a 3-on-2 handicap match. We're like, okay. So it was Frost who was joining. That's who was joining our group. Frost. Frost and Envy with me at ringside against Fox, Justin, and Cam Zagami.
Oh, jeez, Cam.
So we're like, how the fuck are we going to do this? Because there's no point. Incredible doesn't have to. Like, it doesn't make sense for Justin Incredible to be part of the 3-on-2 team.
Right.
Like, how are we going to make this work? So we eventually figured out so that the match started. It was going to be a regular tag match the whole time. The thing we eventually worked out was Cam was going to get hurt like 5 minutes in because of something illegal that happened behind the referee's back. Cam got help to the back. And in the meantime, Fox is facing a 2-on-1 situation. And then eventually Credible was going to come out to replace Zagami. That was the whole... obviously, not a great setup, but fuck it. It was what it was. We worked with what we had to work with. We get to the spot. Cam gets hurt. Whatever. Oh, no. Cam isn't even hurt at this point. I'm sorry. We're not even at the spot where Cam gets hurt. And I'm standing ringside. And they start playing Justin's music. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, all of us had that what the fuck look on our face. And you can clearly see Credible starting to come through the curtain back to us because he's clearly yelling at somebody backstage while coming through the curtain. We're like, oh, for fuck's sake, what happened? So we're going through the match, whatever. Cam gets hurt, and then whatever. Everything else works out. In the midst of it, I was trying to be an asshole and get heat with Justin during the match while he was on the apron waiting for a tag. And this is like pretty early once he got out to the ring. So I'm trying to get heat being a dick to him. And Justin's like, not a good time. I'm like, okay. And I just fucking went away. I'm like, all right, I get it. Something's going on. All right, fuck it. We get through the match. And he's still seething pissed the entire match. We get backstage. Apparently, Caleb came up to him while waiting for his cue and said, what the fuck are you doing back here? Get out there. And Justin's like, I'm waiting for a spot. Like, this is the spot that's going to happen. And then I go out. He's like, I don't fucking care. You get out there. Like, some of the lines are like, you get out there. You're not getting fucking paid. Get the fuck out there.
You don't fucking say that to PJ.
Oh, he was fucking livid. So And he was like, fuck that. No, like, I'm waiting for my spot. So then Caleb fucking cues the music guy to hit the music while he's still refusing to go. Like, just a fucking mess. Like, oh, God. The motherfucker was lucky that he was out there ring announcing for the second half of the show. Otherwise, he would have had PJ and a fat guy named Brian beating the shit out of him. Like, that was...
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And yet somehow Tony Khan has officially become a worse booker.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, don't fuck with PJ and his money. Like, I've been around too many times where the promoters tried to shortchange or threaten to not pay PJ. Yeah, no, it's not a pretty story.
That's just dumb. Some promoters are just fucking stupid as hell.
A lot of them.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a or a B. You let me know what you want to do. Should we touch on Raw and SmackDown at all, or just blow right into Extreme Rules and NXT? Because basically Raw and SmackDown all fed into Extreme Rules except for two things, really.
Let's go through some bullet points of the stuff that happened this week on Raw, on the 3 TV shows leading into the pay-per-view.
All right, let me look through here. So let's start with, obviously, Raw. We're going in chronological order.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Judgment Day shit.
Yeah.
Lashley, Ali.
Dude, Ali needs to go the fuck away. I'm sick of him.
Yeah, that all that shit was just random.
Ali is damaged goods because of like when he fucking publicly tried to quit the company on Twitter when he was unhappy, and now it's like they brought him in as a babyface. They're like, okay, fine, we'll give you some TV time, and then for some reason now he's a heel again.
I don't know.
Like, there's no reason behind it, and like, I'm sorry, I'm not buying Ali versus anyone 3 times the size.
Right. And then after that match, Rollins jumped Lashley. So now we're set up with Rollins and Lashley tonight for the U.S. title.
Mm-hmm.
Intriguing. We'll see.
I could see Rollins bouncing back and winning it because the secondary titles have really become the main show, like the flagship titles for the shows now again. So I could see.
Let's see what else. I had to remind myself of this. The fight pit before the other night had only been used twice before. It was both in NXT.
Right. This was the first fight pit that didn't involve Timothy Thatcher.
Right. Because it was Thatcher and Ciampa, and it was Thatcher and Riddle.
Yep.
When it was in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting because then they had to find clips that basically didn't really show Thatcher's face for the fucking vignette.
They showed his face a few times.
They did? They actually I didn't really catch that, but kind of hard to miss that face anyways. What else we got here? The Miz and Dexter Lumis stuff just keeps getting better and better. Miz is on the phone backstage on Raw trying to plan his birthday celebration for tonight.
That's right.
And then later on the night when Gargano's walking by backstage to go to his match on Raw, he's walking by and sees okay, Dexter's holding unconscious Miz, and then when Gargano backsteps to see if he saw that right, Dexter's gone. And she's fucking Miz laying there with a picture drawn out of it was fucking funny.
See, it would have been better if he had backed up and Dexter was still there and Johnny handed him a condom.
It's not TV 14 yet. Relax.
But no, but it harkens back to the vignettes on NXT.
Oh, yeah.
The honeymoon vignettes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why. Like,
so they're blowing off Johnny and Austin Theory tonight.
I guess either that or we'll get a schmaz and it'll continue.
I don't know. I just feel like it's a little too soon, but I get it. Like, okay,
it might just be a stop on the road. Like, we shall see.
I would hope so. They had Otis pin Johnny, which I thought was interesting, but it involved Theory hitting with the briefcase, so that makes sense.
Right.
Didn't we call it, by the way? Fucking Braun beats Gable, and who's watching backstage during the match? Fucking Omos and MVP.
Fucking Matumbo.
We fucking called that shit from a mile away, man.
Yeah, I told you, like Saudi.
Yeah, Riyadh, baby. They gotta book it somehow. Might as well throw in an 8-minute Giants match. Then we get the setup for the ladder match, which basically showed Io and Dakota laying out Asuka and Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
Basically setting up where Bianca was going to walk in Saturday all by herself. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Are we... A couple things I want to discuss here with the Bloodline. Number one, are we impressed with the presentation of Solo Sikoa these first few weeks?
Yeah.
We're happy with it?
Yeah, I think the only thing that hurt him was the fact that they brought him up with the North American title and then they yanked it off him.
Well, yeah. Excluding that little stumble there.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, we're happy with the presentation.
Yeah.
The other thing involved in the Bloodline. Where are they trying to go with this? I think you know what I mean. Like, where are they trying to go with this whole Jay, Sammy, Solo kind of situation that's going on?
It's basically, I mean, they actually like alluded more on SmackDown with Roman basically saying like, Jay, you're a fucking hothead, but then told Sammy it's your issue now. So now it falls back to Sammy trying to get along with Jay and Jay's going to get Solo to try to side with him against his own brother. And it's going to be conflict back and forth. And eventually Jay's going to snap and Sammy's going to flip babyface.
Or is Solo going to snap and leave Sammy out in the cold?
Or that too, yeah. Like, Sammy's going to end up babyface
one way
at the
or
end
another.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sammy's going to end up babyface at the end of it, and they're going to put him and KO back together.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to lead to. Is this really just all leading up to a drawn-out reunion for Sammy and KO, basically?
Yeah.
Okay. Which actually feeds right into SmackDown, because obviously, by the way, nice to see Triple H show up for the season premiere of SmackDown. Good for him. The Bloodline Logan Paul opening segment, though,
I mean, Roman put in some good stuff there.
Yeah, I just like, I know it sounds like I'm shitting on Logan Paul constantly lately, and I really don't mean to, but like, he's still a struggle on the mic, which
right.
I don't know, man. Like,
which is weird considering like he makes his living talking.
Right, and like it obviously helps that you have Heyman there, and Roman knows what he's doing at this point now.
Right,
but just I just feel like this all falls flat and it just feels one-sided in the end.
Yeah,
like we all know Logan's gonna get smashed. We know that.
Right.
Like you're not putting the belt on Logan Paul. That's a given.
Right.
At the same time, though, you could at least give us some kind of suspense of like disbelief and just.
Right. I feel like if they had given Logan Paul a couple of more matches under his belt and tried to pull this off somewhere along the lines of like a month before WrestleMania in Saudi, right. It doesn't have to be right. Like then it might have had a little more credence to it.
Like Elimination Chamber.
Right.
Like if you did the title match then.
Right.
I don't know, man. Everything comes off flat, and it's nothing to like. It's not Roman's fault, and it's not right. Paul's fault. It's
right.
It just falls flat because you have for the first time, I feel like in a long time, you have an opponent with no believable credibility into being an opponent for him.
Right.
Like even when there was no story, like even when it was like. Like even when they went into a position like they didn't have anything set up for him, they just randomly started stuff. Like when they were kind of starting with Shin there for a little bit.
Right.
Like even though there was really nothing there, Shin is still somebody credible. You can go, you know what? That's a bad motherfucker. That would be a good match.
Right.
Like Logan doesn't bring that feeling out of anyone.
The whole main reason behind the entire thing is because with Saudi Arabia,
one of the biggest things in Saudi Arabia for the people is YouTube. Like that's where they get their source of a lot of entertainment because state-run media, all that stuff. Whereas YouTube, a lot of those things. Because I was thinking about this the other day and really like trying to concentrate on why Saudi and all this stuff. And it's honestly because, well, number one, it's because if you're going to do it on a pay-per-view, you're going to do it on one of the throwaways. But also it's because I was thinking back to Gabriel Iglesias and one of the specials he did, where he talked about going and doing this big stand-up tour in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And he was like, "How do you people know about me?" And they were like, "YouTube."
I remember. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Couple notable things also from SmackDown. Number one, this is going in chronological order, by the way, through the show.
Okay.
Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Hit Row comes out seemingly for a tag team match, we would assume.
Mm-hmm.
But not so much. Legado del Fantasma shows up, beats up Hit Row. Even having Zelina Vega beat up B-Fab, even though she took a horrible hurricane rana, but whatever.
Yeah. Still learning.
Yeah, she was. I think she was working weekend. She's working weekend shows right now.
Yeah.
On the NXT loop. So.
Yeah.
But
they're smart. They are smart.
Are you talking about the Zelina over?
Yes.
Carmen Sandiego.
Yes, because that girl was not ready for developmental TV, let alone national TV.
Because apparently Elektra Lopez was under the auspices of being part of that call up until about 48 hours before SmackDown.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Yes, that's what's come out since then, is that Zelina basically got the call 48 hours before, and then Elektra found out the news at the same time. So maybe that was a last minute Hunter call.
Definitely.
Because remember, this call up was basically being set up from the get go with the way Bruce and Fuckface McGee, Laurinaitis, the way they were booking out the whole Tony D. Santos stuff.
Right.
Hunter basically just had to come in and basically fix the pieces. There's the endings. Okay, now we move on. So this had to be a Hunter call, obviously.
Yeah.
Smart, yes.
I don't like them bleaching her hair though.
Well, that was her. Her hair was bleached before she showed up.
Yeah, she needs to lose that. It doesn't look good on her.
It'll change eventually. Trust me.
Yeah.
But she's been on a weird kick of like changing her hair color. Seems like every fucking week. So I don't know. But again, that's also while she was sitting at home, not doing anything. So maybe
true.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, she wasn't not doing anything. She was making sure her husband was safe.
Well, you get my point. Like
yeah.
she wasn't out on the road.
Right.
So that's the first thing. Second thing. And this isn't a big thing. It's just something I want to bring up quick. How do you feel about Shotzi and Raquel as a team versus when they had Aaliyah pinned with Raquel?
Better team.
Fair. Okay.
Aaliyah she needs to go. She needs to go.
Okay. Fair. Next, the vignette for the Viking Raiders.
Sarah Logan's back, baby.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Because I think the only thing is nobody's 100% sure if this is the Viking Raiders returning with Sarah or if this is Sarah returning first before the Raiders return. Because nobody seems to be sure yet about
Ray Rowe.
It wasn't Ray, wasn't it? I thought it was Hanson who.
No, it's Rowe.
Injury. Oh.
No, it's Rowe. That was why, because Hanson just came back from the injury, and then Rowe got hurt.
Right. So,
I could honestly remember the scenario I gave a few weeks back where I was like, if you need a stopgap with them not being able to tag, push Ivar as the War King, like they were doing, around here, and they could very well be putting Sarah with him for the time being.
Yeah, because there doesn't seem to be any kind of, at least nobody seems to know about a definitive timetable about Ray coming back from his foot injury.
Right.
So that's the only thing that's mysterious at this point is if it's going to be all 3 of them at once or just 2 of them for the time being.
Right.
So that's going to be the wait and see about that.
Mm-hmm.
2 more things from SmackDown before we get to Extreme Rules. Number 1, yeah,
It's official.
he's no longer Max Dupree.
He grew back that facial hair quick.
I mean, it grows, baby.
Apparently, I want to know what he
back.
like. It took me a while to get the beard this long. I want to know how the hell that shit grew out in a week.
You haven't been around my father. He grew a beard like it's nobody's business. He's back to being LA Knight.
Yeah.
I know you're not a big fan, but you think it's better still.
We'll see.
Okay. And then the last thing from SmackDown. Now, I don't know if this is happening because they want to drone on with Gunther and Sheamus.
That was no.
So here's the thing. So if you didn't watch SmackDown, I'll give you the 411. Sheamus and Gunther were fighting again for the IC title in the main event of the season premiere of SmackDown. Sheamus had Gunther, excuse me for the burp. Wow. Sheamus had Gunther in the cloverleaf.
Right.
Gunther was close to the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
He
tapped.
He seemed to do a double tap on the mat and then played off like he was still reaching for the ropes.
Right.
Just waved it off. Gunther eventually reaches the ropes.
Yeah.
So calls for the break. Crowd's booing because they thought it was a tap.
Mm-hmm.
Sheamus is a little pissed because he thought it was a tap.
Right.
And then eventually Gunther hits a clothesline with the shillelagh that Jess had her back turned or something.
Mm-hmm.
He tosses out the shillelagh. Jess turns back around. 1, 2, 3. Gunther retains, excuse me. Now, the reason I'm not entirely sure if they're trying to go somewhere with this or if this was just a one-off fuck up. I don't know the reason I'm saying I'm not sure is because Jess in her Twitter at first just flat out said that was not a tap, then provided side-by-side footage because she was also the ref for when Gunther was still Walter and dropped the UK belt on NXT to
Ilya.
So basically, she used it side-by-side to show the way he tapped in the UK title match, side-by-side with the way he was quote-unquote tapping in the IC title match. I was basically saying, this is him actually tapping out when he taps out. This is him, quote-unquote, tapping out by your standards.
Not buying it.
So that's why I'm saying I don't know if they're trying to go somewhere with this.
They're definitely trying to go somewhere with it.
Like,
it's just, I would not have gone this route. Whoever wrote that in for that match needs a stern talking to.
It was... haven't we already seen this shit before with like Little Nate at one point?
Yes.
Or Scott Armstrong. Like, I think they
or Danny Davis.
I think they did with both of them at one point, actually.
Mm-hmm. Nick Patrick.
Don't get me going with Nick Patrick. I don't really want to fucking go down that road. Yeah, just very. I don't know.
Bill Alfonso.
Yeah, so my assumption is we're going to get to a point where they do another blow-off match, and they just do it with just not being the ref, is my assumption.
Yeah. They could very well get an Iron Man match out of this.
Maybe.
Either that or a submission match.
One last thing, by the way, that I didn't even think about mentioning until I just looked at my notes again. SmackDown was also the first show after this happened. The announced teams got reshuffled as of, I believe it came out Wednesday was when this was announced, Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
So the commentary teams for all 3 TV shows for WWE have been changed.
Mm-hmm.
Friday was the debut of the first team, which was SmackDown, obviously. So, at least for the time being, I'm not sure if this is
until college football's done. Yeah.
Right. There's no guarantee this is permanent, but for the meantime, Wade Barrett is now taking the spot at color commentary with Michael Cole. Kayla Braxton and Megan Morant still backstage doing interviews for SmackDown. For NXT, their debut team, with Wade going to SmackDown, Booker T is now joining the desk with Vic Joseph. Mackenzie Mitchell still backstage. Then on Raw, this is where things got really interesting. Raw, first off, is going back to just a 2-person commentary team, no 3-man booth.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, no more Sarah Schreiber doing interviews.
Mm-hmm.
No more Kevin Patrick doing interviews.
Mm-hmm.
There's no word if Sarah's been released from the company or not. I don't believe she has been, because I know that
she'll probably be a floater.
Well, I know that she also does the house show loops on the weekends,
right?
As like the host with the ring announcer,
right?
Alicia Taylor does the same thing too. She ring announces for NXT. She also does arena hosting on house show loops as well. But now Kevin Patrick, he's going to be the play-by-play guy alongside Corey Graves on Raw. Jimmy Smith is out. We'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
Backstage, Byron Saxton takes the male interview role from Kevin Patrick. And now, taking the place of Sarah Schreiber, is returning Kathy Kelly. Interesting.
Huh.
Now, on the back end, Jimmy Smith, he said that now that the story is officially out, my time at WWE is officially done. Had a lot of fun and met some great people. Really and truly blown away by the acceptance from the WWE fans. You folks make it work every week, and your enthusiasm is amazing. Now, that was the nice dressed-up way for him to address it.
Yeah.
Here's the back end of it. Apparently, because of his MMA background, Jimmy Smith remembered that Matt Riddle had beaten John Jones twice in New York State amateur wrestling competition when they were in high school together.
Yep.
Jones was attending school, I believe, somewhere out in the Rochester area, if I remember correctly, and Riddle is from the upstate New York area near where I'm from.
Right.
I believe Saratoga, Yeah, Saratoga.
They got good water.
So, yes, they do. So Jimmy had brought this up as a talking point to Hunter before Raw. And Hunter, instead of saying...
It was actually before the pay-per-view. It was on Tuesday of this past week.
Oh, so it was during... Okay, so it was during... It was the lead-up work that he was doing for
the pay-per-view, yeah.
So he tells Hunter this fact on Tuesday. Hunter says, okay, pass it along to Cole.
Mm-hmm.
To which Jimmy was like, that's fucking weird, but okay. And he put that as, okay, I guess I'm not working the pay-per-view, but also figured, oh, I must be getting fired. So Jimmy basically knew that it was coming before it actually came down. At least that's the way he explained it on his radio show on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
And he eventually also did like a whole 12-minute live thing on Twitter talking about it as well.
Yeah.
Said it was nice to be staying home and watching football for once on a Sunday. So yeah. I feel bad for Jimmy in a way.
Yeah.
At the same time, there were points where you kind of were like, about the mesh.
Yeah. He kind of slipped up a few too many times calling the Judgment Day the bloodline.
Yeah. But the same token, you still kind of feel bad for the guy because overall,
just like the dude before him. I
love Adnan Virk, but he was doing a much better job than Adnan Virk.
Yeah.
He was fitting in much better with them. So yeah, that's the deal with that. All right. So do you want to go to Extreme Rules or go to NXT?
NXT.
Okay.
Because this was the official debut of the new, not so new NXT.
Right. So NXT, basically, they just redid their color branding, is what it really comes down to.
Actually, had some conversations. They actually did take apart the entire setup in the PC.
Right. So you can tell there was also a change to the setup as well.
Right. They just the way they rebuilt it just kind of looks way similar to the way it already was.
Right. They reconfigured seating in a way so that the entranceway is more open, not so narrowed.
Yeah, it doesn't have that plexiglass shit there that people could freaking get smashed into.
Right. They also padded up the. I can't remember if this was like that before, but the actual walls around the ringside are padded up now. I don't think it was like that before, was it?
No, it was the plexiglass shit.
Right. Okay. So they padded up the walls. They widened the entranceway.
Yep.
It just looks a lot safer.
And they moved the commentary table.
And yes, and they moved the commentary table. Excuse me, hiccups. They moved it from hard cam side at Jace.
Right.
No, not at Jace. Hard cam side, period. To
over to where the commentary table is for every other show.
Right. Exactly. So as the set changes.
And the lighting.
Right. As far as the actual show, how do we feel about Pretty Deadly's opening segment?
I thought it was all right. I actually got some old like Smoky Mountain vibes from it.
Yeah, there was a couple hiccups along the way, but overall I liked it. It sufficed. It was passable. And then you have Ridge and Butch interrupting, setting up a tag match for later that night, which was interesting.
Right.
Apparently there was this whole controversy of people because like the whole thing with Solo Sikoa and the North American title was the fact that Sean stripped him of the North American title because he was on SmackDown with it. Right. And everyone was like, well, then there's no reason Butch and Ridge are going to win the NXT tag titles because they'll just get stripped of them if they go to SmackDown. And then people tried to say, no, the reason Solo Sikoa was stripped was because he wasn't supposed to face Carmelo for the title. He just inserted himself in. And so the title win wasn't official. That doesn't fucking work when he defended when there was a referee present, the match happened. He won it. The referee raised his hand, and then he made a defense of the title on SmackDown against Madcap Moss. That doesn't work. Also, the fact that, and this goes back to it because it was bad booking with saying that was the excuse for Solo is because he took the title up to the main roster. What about Dolph Ziggler? For Christ's sakes, Dolph Ziggler was NXT champion on Raw for weeks, and for all intents and purposes, this is what Dolph Ziggler dropped the NXT title on Raw.
And since then has wrestled a handful of matches and disappeared, basically.
This is just, unfortunately, before we were dealing with Pritchard and Laurinaitis overseeing, the problem is now Sean is the booker, and Sean is not a good booker. Shawn Michaels has contributed so much to this business. Shawn Michaels is an amazing in-ring performer. It's a great promo. He's not a booker.
Well, yeah, not every talent's going to be a great booker.
Right.
Then we get Gigi and JC getting attacked by Alba in the parking lot.
Yay.
But then she gets in the car that eventually drives away.
Babyface is doing carjackings, baby.
But who was driving the fucking car?
I thought Mandy was driving the car originally, and she knocked out Mandy, and you threw her in the back seat.
I don't remember Mandy being in the segment.
I thought that was the whole thing, where she took the car because Mandy was in it.
I don't even fucking remember Mandy being in the segment. If that's the case, then great. I don't remember her being in the segment, but okay. We'll roll with that. So we got Carmelo being Oro Mensah. Two dudes from the ladder match coming up, just facing one-on-one, whatever.
Which, it's okay and well, but you just introduced Oro Mensah to the American public, and you've got him going into this ladder match, and you just had him do the job.
Yeah.
Like, you could have very well given Oro Mensah someone else on the roster just to showcase him and give him a win. Like, because, like, and it's nothing against Melo, but Melo doesn't need a win going into it because he's Melo.
He's the A champ.
Right.
Then we get the Creeds in their training room. Duke Hudson checks in, and Julia says, "Fuck you, I'm going to face you tonight," basically. Von Wagner beats Andre Chase in a North American title qualifier.
Ugh.
Despite Thea Hale slamming Robert Stone on the outside. Which
they just gave this momentum to Andre Chase. But instead, Sean's still trying to push fucking Great White Khali because reasons. And because you need a big guy to catch people in ladder matches.
Right. Then we get Sangha and Frazier talking backstage. They push back the fucking Axiom match again to this week now.
But it's still gonna be the final qualifier.
Right. And then Frazier leaves, and who walks in to end the segment?
He's coming!
Veer Mahan, dressed in a suit.
Yeah, boy!
Approaches Sangha, and there's no words exchanged. They just kind of stare at each other like lovers. It's kind
Give me babyface Veer!
Then Grayson Waller arrives, tells extra security about Apollo Crews, be on the lookout for him. And Wendy Chu beats the bitch who has to go, Lash Legend. Like, just go. Just please
Seriously.
go.
Wendy Chu, though, like, yeah.
Wait, what?
Wendy Chu.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
that's what happens when you don't dress her like a fucking baby.
Okay.
Frumpy ass freaking footy pajamas.
Then we get Wesley backstage with Kelly Kincaid, who is filling in for Mackenzie Mitchell. Because Mackenzie and Vic Joseph got married in Italy not last weekend, the weekend before. Congrats to them, by the way.
Yeah.
He gets interrupted by Stax, so now we get a match coming this week with Wesley against Stax 1-on-1.
Yay.
Sure. Then we get a Gallus pre-tape. We'll be back.
I'm pretty sure Joe Coffey's injured and possibly one of the other guys too, and that's why they're just playing this out right now.
Gotcha. Then we get a package with Caden and Katana. Sure. Then Nikita and Zoe. I mean, what?
We had too many female segments in a row.
You weren't gonna like, no matter how this went down. By the way, you didn't want Nikita to win. You didn't want Toxic Attraction to win. So you weren't gonna win either way, there, JJ.
Yeah, it was terrible.
But Nikita and Zoe end up becoming the more contenders over Gigi and JC. So they get the title shot next against Caden and Katana.
Yay.
Then we get Ilya pre-tape about Havoc. And we get the Grayson Waller effect. The Cora, Jade, and Roxanne, where Grayson's just a prick the whole time. He announced a match for Halloween Havoc. Which, tell me if this makes sense. He announces it's going to be spin the wheel, make a deal, but then he goes and spins the fucking wheel himself.
Yep.
So it's not spin the wheel, make the deal if that's the case. Because you spun the wheel. Unless they're going to just totally forget that he spun the wheel and spin it again at Halloween Havoc.
Who knows?
Like,
I mean, to be fair,
think this shit out.
Well, think about this. The last time they did a Halloween Havoc spin the wheel, make the deal a match, it was the host that spun the wheel. It was Shotzi.
Okay. The show was 3.5 weeks away.
I know. Listen, at least it's not a coal miner's glove match.
Which is funny because that's what Waller said he wanted.
Because that's been the running gag since the first spin the wheel, make the deal match ever happened.
I know. It's just funny. When he spun the wheel, by the way, it landed on Weapons Wild, which really bugs me even more because that would actually be a proper thing for those two to have because the whole fucking kendo stick shit that's been going on.
Right.
But at the same time, it's I don't fucking know. Whatever.
We shall see.
Then Apollo turns out to be dressed as one of the security guys and drags Grayson Waller under the ring while security is dealing with Cora and Jade and Roxanne in the ring.
And rape.
Of the eyes. Because then Waller crawls out with bloody eyes and torn clothing.
And rape.
Just because.
Baby faces, ladies and gentlemen. Baby faces carjacking. Baby faces yanking out people's eyes.
Then we get Schism talking to some mystery person wearing a red hoodie that's been handing out buttons for them.
They said you haven't done well enough because
he
it's
says
a
you're
sucker move.
disappointed.
Yeah.
Julius Creed squashes Duke Hudson because reasons.
Poor Duke Hudson.
Brutus comes out to attack Duke after, and this is where the segment goes downhill.
Oh, God, was it?
Then we get Damon Kemp on the perch talking shit. And they eventually make a match for Halloween Havoc where it's Julius against Damon Kemp. Where where Julius got the name that it's an ambulance match, but if Julius loses, Brutus is gone from NXT. because that makes all the fucking sense in the world. We're just gonna have one brother potentially have the other one banned.
Shawn Michaels watched Boondock Saints before booking this.
Yeah.
It's literally because it's like, I do something worse to you. I don't kill you. I kill your brother.
Basically. Then we get a JD McDonough pre-tape for the Halloween Havoc title match. Then we have Hank Walker being pumped up by security backstage. And then Quincy Elliott jumps in at the end of it.
Yeah, because Quincy's friends with all of them.
Sure. Look at an Axiom pre-tape. Then Hank Walker, after all that, just goes and gets beat by Zion Quinn. Sure.
I mean, at least Zion Quinn finally gets a fucking win on TV.
Right.
It's like this dude, Hank, like, dude, like, okay, so you've been quote unquote contracted as a wrestler now. Get a fucking singlet.
Then we get Cameron Grimes talking to the Red Hooded dude backstage. Grimes ends up getting jumped by Schism, and then Gacy welcomes the Red Hooded figure onto the Schism's tree. Can't wait to see who the fuck that is.
I'm guessing it's a female because they need a female for that group.
Then we got Briggs and Jensen and Bladen and Nofe approaching the Brutes backstage, wanting the first shot, the belts. They become the new champs.
Right.
Then we get Braun Breaker interviewed backstage with Kelly Kincaid. He's interrupted by Javi Bernal. And now we got Brawny against Hot Body Javi or whatever.
Big Body Javi. See, and here's another thing. So Big Body Javi has had 2 matches on NXT. Both were losses. Why is he facing the champion in any capacity? It doesn't matter if it's non-title or not. Why is he facing him? This is the dude that did the job to the security guard who technically wasn't a wrestler, according to the story. So why the fuck is he facing the champion?
You got me, pal.
This would be like fucking... This would be like fucking one of the Mokies fucking having a random ass match as the main event with Ric Flair for no reason.
It might have happened, actually.
That Ric Flair requested.
It might have happened, actually. Then we end the show with Pretty Deadly retaining the belts over the Brawling Brutes thanks to interference from Imperium. And then Bladen and Nofe and Briggs and Jensen come out to end the show, basically looking to get a title shot.
Which will probably end up being a triple threat tag team match at Halloween Havoc.
Right, because they're going to have a number 1 contenders match, then Pretty Deadly is going to fuck it up. And
right, exactly.
By the way, I can't remember who it is. One of the members of Pretty Deadly is actually dating Kelly Kincaid, by the way.
Yeah. I think it's the blonde one.
Kit, I think it is. The
yes.
blonde one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have never guessed that if I didn't see that shit on Instagram. I just saw it literally this morning.
Yes, boy.
One other note, the guy who filled in for Vic at the desk, not bad. Just sounded a little too much like Vic. That's the only thing I had.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because Vic Joseph was having immigration issues, according to...
AKA he was on his fucking honeymoon.
Right.
Riding a moped with Mackenzie Mitchell on his back. Good for him. Lucky fuck. Yeah. All right. So we finally get to Extreme Rules the other night.
Yeah.
You had 6 Europeans beat the shit out of each other to start the night.
Fucking bravo.
Brawling Brutes get the win over Imperium in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook.
Abyss promoted that, produced that match.
Shocker.
And you know something? And I sat there because, like, I was, having a chat with a few friends while watching it, and I was just, and we were all like, damn, like, how are you going to top this? Like, they started off on a super high note. And I was like, you realize if Vince was still in charge, this match would have been on the pre-show and gotten 10 minutes with entrances.
Yep. Then we get Miz backstage interview, has an interaction with the Flyers mascot Gritty.
Good old Gritty. I love Gritty.
Gritty gives him a flyer shirt. Miz just steps on it and walks away. That's nice.
Don't do that. You don't. Gritty is sacred in Philly.
Oh, it gets better. Then
I know.
Ronda chokes out Liv Morgan.
God, was that bad?
She doesn't tap out. She passes out, all with a fucking weird-ass smile on her face. Ronda becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Tyson Kidd produced that match.
Fuck you,
He needs a talking to.
Then after the fact, later on in the night, they had a digital exclusive interview with Liv Morgan that wasn't really an interview. It was more Megan Morant trying to ask Liv a question. Liv just sat there with that same fucking weird-ass smile. And now her Twitter's all blacked out. I don't
so
fucking
is Seth's.
I don't fucking know what's going on anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what's not going on, but I'll tell you what's not going on after we get through the rest of the results.
Then we get Cross beating Drew in the strap match thanks to Scarlett spraying Drew in the eyes because fuck off, really?
So you know something? They could have done this well. And honestly, I mean, they did it like, okay, so the opening spot with Cross not wanting to put on the strap, that was gold. Loved it. And I feel like I saw that in like some old Bill Watts stuff.
I was going to say you said that.
Yeah. But here's the only problem I had with the finish. Scarlett pepper sprays him. The guy singing a commentary going, oh, what? Oh, I the can rolled over here. I looked at it. Oh, it says it's pepper spray. Motherfucker, if that was pepper spray, you would know it. Because if pepper spray gets sprayed within 50 feet of you, you know it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad.
Like literally all they had to do on commentary was be like, have one of them cough and be like, oh my God, what? And one of them go like, because they're like, what is that? No, you need to fucking sell it because you are that close to the fucking action. Like, this is why what would have worked better is the fucking sadly is that bullshit that fucking Brandon Cutler uses, the cold spray, which is an actual thing, but they just use it's just it's an aerosol can of water that they use and they put the cold spray label on it. But still, that would have worked because that's odorless.
I don't know, man. Then we get Miz on the phone backstage. Gritty distracts him again. Miz beats up Gritty a little bit.
That you should not do that.
But then stands up and Dexter's behind him.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And Dexter eventually puts Miz to sleep.
And then Gritty kicks him.
And then fucking Dexter helps Gritty up. And Gritty kicks Miz in the gut. Sure. Then we get Bianca retaining over Bayley in the ladder match.
That was superb.
I was going to say, very nice job from all involved, especially fucking, it took a minute, but the spot with Dakota and EO and the double KOD, that was okay.
And that was the first singles women's ladder match
ever.
Yeah, I mean, like they've had the money in the bank matches, but
right. Then we get a match with a lot of stories being told. Finn and Edge. I think I already know what you want to say.
Finhead has such sights to show you.
That's not what I was thinking you were going to say, but okay.
But
sure. What's the other thing I expect you to say here?
Fuck Blanket Mysterio.
Nope. Keep going.
Oh, Beth and Rhea, hook it to my veins.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Man. Yeah. So during the match, Beth comes out. She attacks. It was Finn and Priest, right? With the kendo stick?
Yeah.
Then her and Rhea come face to face. They brawl a little bit, go outside. Oh no. She dumps Rhea outside and grabs the key to the handcuffs that are on Edge, unhandcuffs Edge.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually the numbers game is too strong. And in the midst of this, Ray had come out too and got fucking laid out.
Dominic laid out Ray. Yeah.
He wasn't even seen or heard from again after that once Beth came out.
Right.
So eventually a numbers game catches up on Edge and Beth.
But Edge kicked Dominic in the dick. That was great.
Well, yeah.
Kick him in the dick.
Yeah. And the match basically ends with Priest, Finn, and Blanket holding Edge, while Rhea threatens to do a concerto, a one-man concerto to Beth, who is laying out unconscious at this point. Edge says, "I quit," and then Rhea does the one-man concerto anyways.
Because that's what heels do.
Yes. So Finn gets the win.
Yep. This is the only sad part. Is the next match in this continuation is going to be a mixed tag, and it's going to be Edge and Beth against Blanket and Rhea.
You think it's going to be Blanket?
Yes. And then I hope see here's the problem. Here's the problem. Dominic Mysterio is never going to be portrayed as a badass no matter what you do. Ever. It's not going to happen. Like, number one, the first thing they should have done when the second they put him with Judgment Day is told him to fucking grow some facial hair.
Can he?
That's the first thing. He's 25. He should be able to.
Have you seen the facial hair that's been growing on him?
Dude, hey, but I don't fucking... Dude, he's 25. Like, I was shaving when I was
35.
14.
You see what I grow? Shit! I grow shit! I grow weeds, my friend.
Well, and the other thing is...
connects!
So the other side of the coin is if they can't make him look like a badass, they need to make him look like a bitch. What they should have done is when Edge and Finn were brawling to the back, they should have just brawled to the back, and then all of a sudden you just see Rhea with Dominic on a leash, with Dominic wearing a ball gag.
It's a little too much.
Meh.
It's a little too much.
The Fanta Zero mystery flavor is cream soda, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyways, we get to the main event. Daniel Cormier looks like he ate 5 Daniel Cormier since retirement.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be a Cormier-Brock match in Saudi. That ain't fucking happening. No. Meltzer.
Fucking A. Wow.
I did notice they made the walls of the fight pit taller.
Yes.
Because they were only like maybe 7 feet tall in Florida.
Yes.
And they were slightly slanted, not Lion's Den slanted, but it felt like they were on the slightest of angles.
Mm-hmm.
This is just completely straight and tall. Like they literally just put a platform around the top of the steel
cage. Yes.
I was like, bro, that's a little much. Because I'm pretty sure that fucking senton really hurt Riddle. Like not like injured him, but hurt.
Like a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Riddle ends up beating Seth inside fight pits.
Good match. They worked with what they could. Riddle needed that win. Everyone's like, oh, now Seth Rollins has only had 1 win on TV all year. It's Seth Rollins, motherfucker.
Right.
Riddle needed this win, and it was good. It was good.
Right. Yeah. So, roll credits. That's the show.
Ha! You're funny, motherfucker.
I don't have a lantern. I'm sorry. I can't do it. So we get to, yeah.
Yeah.
We got a bunny in the crowd. We got Huskus.
We got Mercy. We got Sister Abigail. We got Ramblin' Rabbit. We got the Scorched Fiend mask. We got the actual Fiend.
Did you get the 2 Easter eggs in there?
The fact that the Mercy of the Buzzard was dressed like Waylon Mercy?
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
There were 2 very specific Easter eggs, both related to the same person within the entirety of what happened at the end of that show. Number 1 was the mask being worn by Sister Abigail.
Yeah.
Number 2 was the lighting that appeared when the door flew open. Those were both tributes by Bray to Brody Lee.
Yes.
The light was from the Brody Lee debut on AEW.
Uh-huh.
And the mask was the same mask that Brody was wearing when he was in the what was the last incarnation of him and Eric?
The brothers.
The Bludgeon Brothers.
The Bludgeon Brothers, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the sheep mask. Yeah, that's right.
So those were 2 Brody Lee Easter eggs for those of you who didn't pay close
attention. I do remember that, yeah.
And of course, obviously, Bray comes out to the mask of that weird-ass, long-faced figure.
Who killed the world.
Yeah. Pulls out the mask. This is how you know you've got a good pop.
Uh-huh.
The camera on the ramp showing Bray has a mic built into it.
Yep.
You couldn't fucking hear Bray say "I'm here" when he was leaning into the camera.
Yep.
That's how loud it was in Philly.
And the thing was, they were also trying to like muffle the crowd noise because the crowd was chanting "Holy shit," and they didn't want to mute it. Because I found fan cam footage of like people who were sitting over near the entrance ramp and people who were sitting like in the crowd, like on hard cam side. And it's that yeah.
So he's over. Let's just say that.
Very.
I
think Shell said it best. She said, "You hear that pop? Maybe you should have handed the keys to the kid a little earlier, Vince."
Fuck.
There was also one other thing and why do I keep bringing up Bill Watts? With the whole thing with Bray appearing, but yeah, so yes, it was a Brody Lee tribute, but it was also something else. It was a Dusty Rhodes story.
Come again.
So if you go back and watch the Legends roundtables that are on the WWE network that originally were back when there was WWE on demand for like $4 a month if you on your cable provider, and you literally got like 1 or 2 of those like Legends roundtables.
Yeah.
There's one story that Dusty tells, which was actually used in the bumper, where he talked about when Junkyard Dog first showed up in Bill Watts' territory. It's like this grandiose story, but he's just like just basically talking about how much of a moment it was, and they would use the clip in the bumper for the Legends thing to be like, so he was standing there, and Bill Watts opened the door, and brother, he came out of the shining light. And wow. That was one of Wyndham's favorite stories that Dusty would tell when Dusty was still booking NXT. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
He knows what he's doing. Like, because this lends credence to the guy that they just hired for creative that I sent you the picture of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And here's something that it took forever, but it finally happened for all of you who know me and know my previous podcast, Full Circle Radio Reloaded. And you can go back and watch all the old episodes on that YouTube channel. There's one thing that I kept saying about creative for years, for over 200 episodes. There's one thing that I kept saying is that they need to revamp the creative team, and they need to stop hiring reality TV writers, which, by the way, you fucking basement goblins, I hire reality TV people, not soap opera writers. They need to stop hiring reality TV and comedy writers
and they need to hire world builders. I said you need to find people who worked on shows where a world was built around them. Shows like Walking Dead, shows like Yellowstone, shows like Longmire, shows like that. You need to get writers who were on those kind of teams who can build a world. I said that for years. And they finally hired a guy who came from the fucking MCU who knows how to build worlds. Where's my check?
Rob Fee.
Rob Fee, yes, that's it.
Former Marvel and Disney writer, director of long-term creative. He was behind almost entirely the QR codes for the White Rabbit.
Mm-hmm. Sign that man to a lifetime contract with vacation breaks whenever he wants.
Yeah.
Give that man a raise. And find a couple more people like him.
Also, I like to point this out. As of, bear with me. As of yesterday morning, the media scrum from hell after All Out.
You're welcome.
Had over 750,000 views. And that video has been up for
5 weeks.
A month. Yeah, 5 weeks. Within 12 hours of being posted on the WWE YouTube, Bray Wyatt's return had almost 500,000 views.
And that was
7 hours.
Actually. And that was also the fact, also the Bray Wyatt return was divided into 3 videos on WWE's page.
And across WWE's official social media platforms, this is from this today.
Yep.
Bray Wyatt's return in under 12 hours attained a rough estimate of over 7.7 million views. One of these things is not like the other.
But of course, there's basement goblins that are saying, oh, Bray ripped off MJF's return.
Fuck off.
Like, no. MJF's return was with a freaking Spirit Halloween fucking mask.
Right.
And nothing against MJF. I love MJF. But no, fresh out, B. This is, and this, I'm sorry, and fucking this beat out CM Punk's return. Both returns, I should say.
So let's get into news and notes in general while still feeding off this thing. Number one, the Seth and Liv Twitter accounts being blacked out.
Yep.
Let me set something straight. Seth is not joining Bray Wyatt. Seth is just being within himself, and just don't assume anything until you see what happens with him and Lashley tonight. Let's just say that for one thing.
One would assume the reason that Liv and Seth both did the blackout is because they both lost critical matches and are going dark to try to regroup.
Right.
That's what one would use common sense to see.
That's common sense.
This bullshit going around where they're saying that they're bringing Bo Dallas back. No. Bo is retired. Bo is a realtor. Bo and Liv, it's because Bo and Liv are dating and they live together.
Well,
but they're like,
here's a question I want to bring up.
Uh-huh.
Is this really going to be a stable, or were they just using these figures for a one-off return?
One-off. They were personifications of the Funhouse characters. That's all it was. Because now
everybody is hoping and wishing this is going to be a stable. And I'm just like,
yeah, everyone's like, oh, the Wyatt 6. I was just like, Bray Wyatt doesn't need a stable.
Right.
Bray Wyatt is like
Waller. One's going to be Joe Gacy.
No, okay. The only reason they said Grayson Waller is because of the Hawaiian shirt, because they're fucking idiots and don't realize that was a nod to fucking Waylon Mercy.
Oh, Joe Gacy's going to be the pig because look at the eyes of the guy that was wearing the pig mask, man.
No.
And Alexa Bliss is going to be Sister Abigail.
Oh, God. How many times are we going to go down that road?
Because look at the 2 title belts that were hanging behind her, man. Like, I don't fucking know.
I mean, granted, it was funny how Alexa posted on Twitter and she wrote, "Welcome back, my friend."
Right.
But I mean, yeah, we're not getting the Wyatt 6. This isn't going to be a Rob Zombie production. Like, we need to tune in to find out what's going on, but Bray Wyatt does not need a stable. Like, the Wyatt family was a wonderful thing, but the Wyatt family can never be duplicated because Brody Lee is no longer with us.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the everlasting gobstopper question right now.
Okay.
The question that can be constantly chewed but never truly answered for now.
Okay.
Now what?
Now we wait and see.
Like,
and that's the beauty of it.
He's made his return. Great. It was wonderful. It was outstanding. It was very well produced. Now what?
Now we see who the first target is. Now we see whether he's a babyface or a heel.
Hey, Paul, it's your turn. Let's figure this shit out.
Yep. Exactly.
Other news. Nigel McGuinness finally and expectedly released from WWE.
I think that's a temporary thing.
Correct. I would say our agreed viewpoint is that wait till WWE Europe launches next year, and then we'll see if he's really gone.
Yeah.
Other news. There was reports that the Vince documentary on Vice was coming out next Tuesday.
Okay.
Or whenever it is that they were doing the Tales from the Territories airings on Vice. Apparently that's changed now because it's no longer being listed in the program listings for them.
They're probably waiting until Netflix releases theirs to do it simultaneously.
Right.
Like they did with the Dark Side of the Ring Ultimate Warrior and the biographies Ultimate Warrior.
Right. So that's right now on hold, but it is ready to go. Whatever that may be.
Yep. Did you catch the first episode, Tales from the Territories?
I saw that it's on YouTube. I think I'm gonna check it out.
You can.
One, right?
Yeah, the Memphis. It was really good.
Yeah, I'm
like it reminds me a lot of those WWE Legends roundtables that they used to have back in the day, except with a little more teeth because they can talk about whatever they want. They don't have producers going, "No, leave this out."
Well, that's good. 2 other bits of news to report real quick. Number 1, Gable Steveson, their prized project.
Surgery.
Had a heart procedure recently.
Yeah.
But he is now training full-time at the PC, apparently without restrictions. So, my guess, this is a real far-fetched guess. Maybe they have him get involved in the Damon Kemp-Julius match at Halloween Havoc.
Maybe, but at the same time, remember, they did the whole thing where they touted that he was drafted directly to Raw and he wasn't going to NXT. Plus, they had him do the shit at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I know, but
I don't like it. I don't think they ever should have drafted him to Raw.
I know. I agree.
I think they hamstrung themselves right away with that.
No shit. What other piece of news? I think we're going to see our new rivals for Judgment Day the next week. If not, maybe even tonight. Would you like to know who they're going to be?
Sure.
There are reports this morning.
Okay.
That Gallows and Anderson are re-signing with WWE.
Not happening. Not happening. Not happening.
I'm just telling you that there are official reports out there that they are re-signing.
From Meltzer.
And PW Insider.
Fuck! Why? They are worthless. All they did was talk shit about WWE after WWE backed them fucking truckload of money up to their houses.
I'm just telling you that's the report right now, that they are re-signing and more than likely siding with AJ Styles to feud with the Judgment Day.
No! No. No.
Listen, I'm just just the messenger.
Ugh. Like, Triple H is smarter than that. Because you know the fact that Gallows and Anderson are just going to go fucking whispering shit back to Kenny and the Bucks over everything that goes on backstage.
Just, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Ugh. That's not a... No.
I'm not sure how I feel about this comparison, by the way.
What?
You hear what Karrion Kross said about Roman Reigns?
No.
Are you ready for this?
Sure.
He said Roman Reigns is WWE's modern-day Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah. I'd agree.
I didn't expect that response from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
He makes every championship match seem like a big deal. He's an ambassador to the company. He's a strong persona. He's a solid worker. He has a legacy behind him. Yeah, I can see it.
I honestly didn't expect that kind of positivity from you. I'm impressed. Look at you. Taking steps forward here. One baby step at a time here. All right. Anything else good, sir? Oh, yes. There is one other thing. Yes,
we hadn't touched the Sarah Lee thing, too.
Go on that, and I'll save my thing for last. You know what my last thing is, but go ahead.
So, unfortunately, Sarah Lee passed away. It was all over WWE's social media. Tough enough competitor, all that. Very sad. There was a GoFundMe for her funeral expenses, which has been met. It was like set at like $20,000. Mm-hmm. This goes back to what I was saying last week about how AEW has the most toxic fan base ever. Because when that happened, there were AEW fans mocking her death and laughing about it on Twitter and making jokes about it. Because it was WWE that released the fact that they said, like, if you go and look at the WWE tweet about it and then look at the responses, it is a cesspool of humanity. And so Tony Khan, in an effort to try to get some goodwill, donated $10,000 towards the GoFundMe. So people would say, wow, that's really nice of Tony Khan. No, Tony Khan did it so he would be listed as the top donor when you first click on it, to try to counter the backlash of the toxic fan base who are mocking this poor girl's death. That doesn't make Tony Khan a humanitarian. That makes him a narcissist.
Well said. You ready for my final thought?
Sure.
What are you doing? For those of you not watching the YouTube version of this show, I have put on the screen a poster of a card being put together and promoted by Floyd Mayweather, a boxing event under the auspices of the name Global Titans. The show is being done in Dubai on November the 13th. And on the undercard of this show, where Floyd Mayweather, I can't remember who Floyd is, quote-unquote, fighting, so forgive me. It's Floyd. I don't like following him much anyways. But
they're doing it in Dubai because there's no sanctions there.
No shit. Guess who's boxing on the undercard? Mr. I walked out on guaranteed money from Tony Khan, so I need cash. Bobby Fish.
Well, he didn't walk out on it. They didn't renew his contract because he went snitching.
He's facing...
Well, he didn't go snitching. He Adam Cole snitched on him.
He's facing Boateng Primpe. Now, there's nothing outstanding about Boateng as a fighter. And the poster kind of makes Bobby look a little bigger than Boateng.
A little bit.
Let me assure you. Bobby, I don't give a fuck what kind of kickboxing training he's done. I don't give a fuck what kind of MMA training he's done or Muay Thai. He about to get fucked up for no good reason. Listen, Bobby. Fuck off. Right? You just got remarried. Your kids are still kind of young. Fucking spend time with them. Stop doing stupid shit that doesn't make sense for you.
He did spend time with them. 2 weeks spending time with them, and he went completely gray.
Fuck, dude. I mean, go. I'm sure Scott D'Amore will throw you some cash if you really want it that bad. Fuck off. God damn, dude. Like, fucking stupid. What makes you think that getting in the ring with a pro boxer makes fucking sense, Bobby? Just answer me that. Answer me that one time. I don't give a fuck if you want to do it anonymous, if you want to answer my question anonymously on your podcast, or if you want to grow some set of balls and come on this podcast. Fucking just answer that for me. Where the fuck do you think this is a good idea? Who put you up to this? Sure as fuck wasn't Aaron. Oh, sorry, I said your wife's name. My bad. Sure as fuck wasn't her, though. Wasn't your fucking daughters. Who put you up to this? Was your podcast producer D. Scott? Like, who the fuck was it? Because this is just dumb on all levels. Dumb. Looks like TK's booking absorbed into your brain. Dumb.
I told you this is the way Bobby Fish has always been.
Stupid.
That's why he legit got knocked out that one time. One of the shows we booked him
He's gonna get knocked out all right. He's gonna get fucking knocked out all right.
One of the shows we booked him on back in 04 or 05. 05, yes. He was in a match against Del Tsunami. Del's not really well known. He was kind of a mid-card guy in Connecticut around the time. His biggest claim to fame was that he kind of looked like Ricky Steamboat. So they were actually like scouts were looking at him just because of that at the time, because they wanted him to tag with Richie.
Figures.
Right. I mean, Del was, he wasn't the greatest worker, but he wasn't a bad worker by any means. And his whole thing was he was the Brazilian shooter. So he would basically work like Taz.
Fuck me. I know where this is going already. Go ahead.
So Jerk Jackson comes riding along with Tony DeVito to one of our shows, and Mike books him against Del. And we go, listen, and this is when this is when like Del was going to get the build as the babyface shooter. Because PJ, not credible, but PJ, my old podcast co-host, who was a manager and everything. This was introducing him into managing Del. Basically it was Del wins the match afterwards, but Jerk Jackson gets mad at PJ and goes after him, and Del chokes him out from behind, puts him in the Kata Hajime. So before the show, we're sitting in the back and they're going over this. And Jason Knight, he was still sober because it wasn't till his match later. Jason Knight turns to him and he was just like, listen, just so you know, have you ever been choked out? Like there's a certain way to take this so that it looks good, but you don't actually like lose air.
Like that.
Yeah, that's how Jason. And fucking Bobby Fish was like, I can fucking do it. It doesn't matter. Like was above taking advice from fucking a former ECW guy about this spot. So what happens? He goes out there, does a match sucks, blah, 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 blah. Match is finished, goes after PJ. Here comes Del. Boom. Fucking Del puts in the fucking Kata Hajime. Fucking Bobby Fish don't know what the fuck's going on. Knocked the fuck out. Because he didn't want to take 30 seconds to learn.
By the way, would anybody want to take a guess who Jason Knight probably took it from before? Anybody want to take a guess?
Exactly.
Anybody? Just a random guess. He only named the submission after himself when he was ECW champion. Anybody want to take a guess? Fucking Christ.
Exactly.
By the way, do you think he ever told Taz that story 17 years later when he was in AEW last year?
Nope.
Yeah, bet you didn't. Embarrassing. Fuck all. Anything else before I wrap this shit up?
I think we covered everything.
Good. Fucking ignorant prick. It's episode 70 of White Heat. And yes, by the way, before y'all are thinking, oh, he's just full of shit. No, I'm serious. Like, I'll have a verbal throwdown with you, Bobby, if you want.
I had to talk him down over the weekend to not start fucking social media wars.
Yes. JJ talked me down over the weekend from starting a social media war over Facebook because I am somehow friends with Bobby and the producer of his podcast.
Yeah,
and I was ready to throw down shit on Saturday night during the Extreme Rules, and I held myself back. And the reason I was going to start shit is because our boy Gaz was at the Impact taping Saturday night. Yeah. Motherfucker. I'll talk shop. I'll chop it up with you, Bobby. Want to do it here? Want to do it there? I don't give a fuck. I'm sure if I chop it up with you, I know a third guy who might want to chop it up too. He's wearing a bandana and glasses right now.
I don't want to deal with that fucker ever again. I got treated like a peasant the last time I was in the same fucking room as him. So I don't want to ever deal with that motherfucker again.
That being said, it's episode 70 of White Heat, folks. Presented by Godzilla Media. Sponsored by our friends over at Johnstone Supply and Troy and Mohawk Honda. Well, they always go out of the way to please you over at Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia. Long-form questions, comments, questions about Bobby Fish being a hermaphrodite? I don't fucking know. Brian.Katie@GodzillaMedia.com. Short-form comments. You can follow us on Twitter at Brian Katie. He's at JJ_Alexander. I think that does it.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone on long enough.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone. Let me in.